Welcome, everybody, to Crunch Time with Jeff, Booner, Lukas, and Gentry. Gentry's not here. He will be, I'm assuming. But
yes, sir, baby.
It is Wednesday, April 24th, the day before the NFL draft. This is, I guess, going to be our pre-show, pre-game show, I guess, in a way, for the NFL draft. Tomorrow will be our actual draft show, so please tune in. We'll be live around 7 o'clock, probably 7:15, 7:20. Look forward to the stream. It'll be scheduled. And tune in, because we're going to have
Make sure you tune in early.
In the city.
We're probably going to be live at like 7:15 early.
We'll be live at Bookie's Bar and Grill. Boys will all be there. It's going to be an electric environment. Like I said, you can buy your tickets to get the VIP perks, or you can just pay cover at the door. You got to wait in a line. Again, I don't know what to expect from draft day in Detroit. So I'm just telling you, you wait in the line, you can get in. It's much cheaper. You won't get the perks, but you can come hang out with us. So please come to Bookie's Bar and Grill. Hang out with the fellas. Boys, one day.
Can't wait. And Booner, I saw on the Rich Eisen shows either today or yesterday, Schefter, he lands at 2. So that's where you got to be. Yep, tomorrow.
All right, I'm locked in. You guys know me really well too. And sometimes on my end, you guys just keep freezing on my end. I think it might be my internet. I'm getting off the Wi-Fi on my phone. I'm going to figure this out over here as well. I think there's just something going around the country right now. I'm not one for conspiracies, but there's something going around. Maybe it's because the NFL draft is around here right now, so the internet's down. You guys know me, though. When it comes to events like this, I love to go shake hands and meet people and get my name out there a little bit, get the boys crunch time, represent a little bit. So that's one thing I'm ready for tomorrow, getting down there and for a full day in Detroit to go talk to a few people, shake some hands. What is it? Sign some babies that you say, Klotzy? Is that the saying that you say? Sign some babies, do a couple things like that. I'm ready for the boys to be down there. We did the combine. It was in Indy. Combine's like, I don't know what, 10, 20,000 people, if that. We're at home in Detroit. There's going to be 400,000 or 500,000 people, and we're going to be able to go down there and kind of make some mingle with everyone and things like that. So I'm pumped. This show too tonight. So much happened today. I'm ready. I'm just ready to go. I'm sorry.
Hey, like Connor said, shake some babies, sign some hands. You know,
there you go.
There we go. There we go, Connor.
William says, I heard Terron Arnold on Rich Eisen Day. His dad's a roofer, 60 years old and still roofing. It's fate. Lock it in.
He's fixing the hole on the house. Pause.
That's funny.
It's exactly what it is. Motor City Street Scene. What up, Doe? Best night show in the city, LFG. Appreciate you.
Here we go.
Motor City as well. He also said, St. Brown, about to go crazy at Somerset now, which we will get into the contracts. I posted a reaction video breaking today. The boys will give their thoughts. We'll go into it more. Talk more about the Jared Goff report that Adam Schefter put out. The two sides are not close to an agreement at this moment, and we'll get into that in a second here. But yes, tomorrow I am excited, fellas. We'll be coming out with our most wanted list, our top 5, must-have Lions prospects, guys that we want. It'll be posted on our social media. We'll try and break it down in the show tonight. But regardless, tomorrow is going to be a chef's kiss of a show. It's going to be it's going to be amazing. I can't wait for it. But we'll get into it. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Penei Sewell, they got a bag today, which, thanks, Brad Holmes, making our day a lot harder as it was already. I mean, I'm downtown. We're setting up the day before, and Gentry's with me, and I get a text, or I get a notification, and I'm like, oh, there goes Amon-Ra. An hour later, oh, there goes Penei Sewell getting extensions. Booner's over here scrambling, putting up on social. Lukas cooking on a reel. I'm over here. I'm rushing home, making content. But, boys, they got paid. We talked with Corey Woods yesterday. We revisited what we asked him, which was, hey, how many of these guys are getting extensions? Penei, Amon-Ra, and Jared. And he was like, listen, I would assume most of them get done. Yeah. And we talked about it last night. And he's like, it is surprising a little bit that none of them have gotten a contract extension. And, boom, today they're signed. Long-term.
Back to back.
Long-term, baby.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing too, it's like this is the thing. It's you just signed 2 like cornerstone pieces of your franchise. By the way, Brad Holmes drafted in his first ever draft in Detroit. You're signing both of them to over, I think, what is it, like 160 million combined guarantee money. That's just, it's absolutely almost 170 maybe. It's an insane number. And the fact that they were able to get that done. I don't know if the Jared Goff stuff, I don't want to make this about Jared Goff today. Obviously, that's part of it. But the fact you got Amon-Ra St. Brown and Penei Sewell locked up, and I don't know if you guys saw the thing with the Penei Sewell thing, and I saw some people already commenting, asking the questions about it. it's not just like a 4-year extension for Penei Sewell. Early this morning, they went in and they opted into his fifth year option. And so you have Penei Sewell now for the next 6 seasons through 2029. It's not just like you have him for another 4 years. It's they added the 5th year option. They have this year and then another 4 years on top of that. So you got Penei Sewell for 6 years starting today. And you got Amon-Ra St. now for another 5 seasons starting today as well. So I think it's a great thing to see like a franchise like the Lions who, and correct me if I'm wrong, it just never feels like throughout the history, at least since I've been alive, that they just sit here and draft guys and they win football games and they do what they've done. And you can extend them and say, hey, this is the cornerstone and the building blocks of what we're building to go win a Super Bowl. Like this is what competent franchises do. And now you have a GM, now that you have guys you pay money to, you have a GM who can draft and put talent around them. I think today's a beautiful day in Detroit. Tomorrow's going to be an even better day in Detroit with the draft boys. It was beautiful this morning to see those 2 contracts done.
No, I'm with you, boys. I was honestly, the fact that Penei was the highest paid tackle in the NFL did not surprise me at all, but it did surprise me a little bit to see that Amon-Ra is now actively, as of right now, the highest paid wide receiver. That'll soon change when CD and Justin Jefferson resign. He's all worth the money. I just really did not expect him contractually to be the number 1 receiver in the league, but we talk about, I mean, Booner, I know we kind of had a little disagreement on it, but Penei Sewell is the heartbeat of the team. If you want to put another player there, that's fine. But back to your point and what Jeff said earlier in the video that he dropped, that this is the cogs in the engine to get the Lions to the Super Bowl. Penei Sewell, he's the one in the NFC Championship game on the road in San Francisco, hyping this whole team up. Sam Laporta, Jared Goff, the whole team, the whole offense is listening to Penei Sewell, locking in Penei Sewell. And you have this guy, what is it? He's entering his 4th season now. Yep. And he's already the best tackle in the NFL. You can pay him now. So by the time his contract is up, you don't have to worry about paying him even more down the road. And same thing with Amon-Ra. I think he's more so like the definition of the grit with the team. Obviously, that Penei and all the other guys have it. But I think when people look at the worth ethic in the locker room, they look at Amon-Ra. So you're getting great players. You're going to get all pro players. But most importantly, you're keeping the culture around in the locker room for longer.
By the way, I want to know, Penei Sewell is the heartbeat of this football team. I want that known.
Okay.
He is the heartbeat of the football team. He is.
Yeah. All right. As long as I know you said Jared.
I didn't say it. The thing is I never said Jared was the heartbeat of the team. That was like, you just threw that in there. We were talking about chanting a guy's name. And when I said chant Jared Goff because he's your franchise quarterback.
I thought you were saying no, Jared.
He's your franchise quarterback. Penei Sewell, it's obvious. He's all over every single video pregame, screaming to the guys. I think it's very well known seeing the tweets and things today that Penei Sewell is like the grit god of Detroit. He is like what it's him and Amon-Ra St. are literally the 2 like grit gods of Detroit. And I think that's like very obvious. So I'm happy they're here for 5 years now, 6 years.
And the thing about Penei, he is one of the best players, non-quarterback players in the NFL. So that contract to me, I was like not phased. Even Amon-Ra was not phased and not surprised. I think he deserves every single penny. I know I made the video today when the first report came out, and that's all we had was the initial contract. I didn't know whether it was front loaded, back loaded. I didn't know, all the
I've got the St. Brown numbers if you want that.
Yeah, and we'll get to it in a second. I know we said initially it said the $30 million number, which again, it's the initial report, so you have to kind of wait. But we talked about this before with the Amon-Ra thing, and I said here on the show that I'm comfortable with that $30 million number. Like I was 100% comfortable because of the player he is. And I know, again, it's not exact numbers, but whatever the case is, he deserves every single penny too. Like those 2 guys are the reason this team is and will be Super Bowl contenders. I have no issue with it. It's going to make other decisions a little harder, but that's okay because those 2 players you just cannot afford to lose. I know they're both on offense and defense is a different question, but they're going to sign Aiden Hutchinson to a max contract when he's up. They're going to have other rookies they draft. And when you have a GM like Brad Holmes who can identify talent as well as he can, I'm not as concerned with giving guys paydays that truly deserve it because what the Lions look for in a player is so specific that when you find it, you don't want to lose it. Like Penei and Amon-Ra check those boxes, not only as players, but as human beings. And when you come across those type of players, you sign them long-term. You get the deal done. You don't care. Yeah, there's a certain level you probably stop at a certain number, but at the end of the day, like just keep these guys in Detroit. And Brad Holmes found a way to do it. So I'm happy. I'm happy it's done. We'll get to the Jared thing in a second, but I don't care what the number is. Those two guys, man, those are some of your best football players. So get them signed.
Yeah,
and I think the other thing. Go ahead, Boone.
No, you can go ahead. I was just going to agree with Jeff said. I just think like these are the type of guys you want to sign and you want to keep bringing. Like you have no issues with them on or off the field. They epitomize literally exactly what you preach and what the culture you build up. So I think it's worth every single penny getting guys like this, and they produce at the end of the day, which is just like a cherry on top.
And yeah, 100%. I think the other thing too that goes with it is I think Amon-Ra and Penei are both players. I didn't mean 100% you there, Boone.
No, I'm in the background here like that dude just 100% me.
No, I just
unbelievable.
It didn't mean to come out that way, but
I ruined that for us. But continue.
You did.
Sure.
Penei and Amon-Ra, in my opinion, are players that, regardless of the situation, especially with Penei considering he's an offensive lineman, they won't change. I think Amon-Ra is a quarterback-proof wide receiver because of his work ethic, because of the consistency with his hands and consistency to find openings in zone coverage, and just his skill set in general. He's a very quarterback-friendly target. And Penei Sewell, I mean, we heard what was it Jim? It was Jim Harbaugh talking about offensive linemen, about how they're the only position in football where everything, the whole game is based around them. They don't have to worry about a pass being thrown to them being accurate. They don't have to worry about missing a block because they're the ones setting the block. Penei Sewell will always be Penei Sewell regardless of who his quarterback is. And I think Amon-Ra will always be Amon-Ra regardless of who the quarterback is as well.
You know what, too? Just actually, never mind. I'll take that away. I just think like Amon-Ra St. Brown is such like a good wide receiver for a guy like a Jared Goff or because you know his skill set. He just gets open. He knows how to. Mo talked about that yesterday with the guy like Amon-Ra St. Brown, as he's just such a quarterback friendly wide receiver, like you said, Lucas, to where he just knows the spots to get open. He's not like an X that's going to go out there and beat someone down the field and for 80 yards like a Justin Jefferson. But he just is he's so skilled. So that never will go away until you get older. That's just going to be who he is forever. I do it. Can I give you guys these numbers too real quick for this contract?
Yeah, please.
Because it's really interesting the way it is. And this is on Over the Cap. So I don't know how official it is yet, because on some of the other ones it's not up yet. But Over the Cap has it is in 2024. It's going to be it's essentially just, I feel like it's a little backloaded a little bit towards the last 3 years. So this year coming up, 2024, it's a $4.8 million cap hit, which is big time. And 2025, it's a $13.9 million cap hit, which is 5% of the cap. 2026 is when it really goes up in 2 years. $33.1 million cap hit. 2027, it's a $28.9 million cap hit. And then the final one, the 2028, that's the big one to where it's going to end up being a $41 million cap hit. So it ends up to where they put a lot of it towards the back. I don't know, in my eyes, and I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm a salary cap guru and I'm a contract guru. My guess is you do it that way. So once you get closer, a year or two out again, if you do another restructure and another extension, then you can kind of move things around once again. That's just my guess. I don't know if people in the chat are kind of, you guys understand that a little bit more, but that's kind of my thoughts on it.
Maybe backload those guys because, like we talked about, Penei's going to be here for another 6 years, Amon-Ra 5 years, but Jared Goff 2 to 3
or 4.
So you give him you give him his money right now. Yeah.
And you always those second extensions, you see it with quarterback, like the Tom Brady thing. That's like the golden example. It's once his contracts, he signs these big deals, but once that contract's about to come up, he always sits there and they're rearranging his contract. So, turn it into bonuses, put it into dead cap towards the end of the contract, just do different things like that. And that's what it feels like they did with St. Brown. And I'm sure, to be honest, the Penei Sewell thing is very, very similar. And I'm sure that Penei Sewell contract really won't hit for another 2 years after that 5th year option.
And also the thing with Amon-Ra St. Brown, and it's what Mo said yesterday, and it stuck with me, what his coach told him, and he talked about it with Amon-Ra, the consistently good versus occasionally great. Amon-Ra St. Brown is consistently good, and there'll be times pretty often where he is great. So he is like you said, Lucas, definition of consistency. Keep him around long term. And now, for a guy that was a 4th round pick, making a little under $1 million per year, which is a lot of money, by the way. But in terms of NFL contracts, he wasn't making what a player with his production was making. he can get fined all he wants. He can afford it now.
Facts.
Hey, I would just be out there doing every celly in the end zone. Fucking find me. All right, I'll pay the fine. So I'm happy for him. He deserves it. Those two guys, especially for free agents that you sign, especially offensive players, and I know Aiden will be the next guy, but you need these pillars so that when new players come in or young players, guys you draft, they draft a wide receiver in the first round, something that you've been proposing. Xavier Legette, not to argue here, but use him as an example, even though I disagree.
Very fine example.
If he walks in a locker room, guess who he's seeing first? Or probably second or third, top three. It's you talk about Jared Goff, yes. Penei Sewell, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Those guys are going to be talking to him. So those are like your leaders. So you got to keep those. You got to keep those guys around. No question about it. But Jared Goff, guys, and I said this today on the video, and out here, I want you guys to I want your opinion on my take on this. When I first saw the Adam Schefter thing, when he talked about they're not close on a deal yet. I want to make that clear. Not like they won't sign a deal. I'm not going that far. I'm not going to run with the report. But they're not close right now. If I'm being honest with you, I think it's either two things. Maybe it's both. It's length of contract and maybe guaranteed money. Those are the two things that my guess. I think for a guy like Jared, I want more years and more guaranteed. And probably for Brad, I think Brad would be willing to give guaranteed money, because it's not like Jared gets injured or anything like that, but it's the length. I think Brad is probably more hesitant on, because you got to think he's under contract next year. And if you sign him to a 4-year deal, it's 5 years. So for Brad, he's probably thinking, I'm more 2-3, and Jared's like, I want the 4. I'm stuck here at 4. And maybe that's where they're working things out. That's my opinion on it. That's not a report. But what do you guys think about that and the Jared Goff stuff?
Yeah. So Jeff, at least in my opinion, and I know a lot of people, I've been the Jared Goff guy. Like, I want him in Detroit, and I think there's still a lot of people out there who do. It's crazy to me to see, for a guy who's going to end up getting his deal done in Detroit, and he's going to be here for the next 3 years. At least that's where I'm at. There's a lot of people kind of already stomping on his grave today, just because that report came out, which it's unbelievable, because he's going to be your franchise quarterback for the next 3 years. And I will lock that in, and you guys can clip this, do whatever you want. He will be in Detroit for the next 3 years minimum. This is how I look at it, though, fellas. Quarterback contracts, and I'm sure you guys agree with me, are way more like lucrative and like the fine print, all of these things. That's when you really start getting into things. The big example I look into, when you start looking at these quarterbacks, it's so hard. Those are the players you always see sitting out and taking back seats saying, hey, I'm not coming to training camp if a deal's not done. Lamar Jackson is a prime example of one. And no one thought he was going to return to Baltimore. And guess what? They end up giving like a 5-year, $160 million deal or so, whatever it was. So I think it's harder to get a quarterback deal done because, like you said, Jeff, the guaranteed money in the years on in the terms, that's what really kind of comes down to all of it. It's that guaranteed money, because when it comes down in 2 years or 3 years, if you need to trade that quarterback and you have all this guaranteed money, it makes that contract less tradable. And so that's probably where Brad and the Lions are sitting there saying, we can't guarantee you this. We don't want to put that much in there. We want you to play, and we want you to have, some incentives. And if you play and you're on the roster at this point, we'll pay you. So I think the year thing as well, maybe the Lions want 2 or 3 years and he wants 4 years or 5 years. Maybe he wants that Lamar Jackson 5-year deal. So I do think there's it's very tedious when it comes to quarterbacks. That's the only thing that I took away from this, is there's going to be a deal that's eventually done. They're obviously talking about it. It's just going to come down to what's that guaranteed money and what's how many years is going to be on that deal. I don't think it's anything saying that he's not going to resign, though.
Hey,
if you're stomping on that grave today, you're going to have a big awakening in the next 3 months before the training camp.
What's it smell like? I'm just asking.
He's definitely going to resign, but I think he's definitely, to Booner's point, pushing at least his agents right now, because Jared said in that podcast that he sat down on recently that he's really not doing any of the talking. I bet his agents are pushing for that Lamar Jackson long-term contract, and Brad wants to get this deal done now because he sees where the salary cap's going. He wants to get Jared cheaper, but they're like, all right, you want to get us cheaper? We want to be here for longer. But I think Brad's looking at it. He's like, no. I do not want to lock myself into a 5-year contract. I think the guaranteed money, they're probably a little bit off, but I'm sure they pretty much have a similar idea of where they want to be. But the years, as far as keeping this window open, I think Brad's a guy that he's not going to commit his job to one person. I think if you sign Jared Goff to a 5-year deal, you are committing your job to Jared Goff, because if he fails, most likely a lot of that money is going to Jared Goff, and you're building the team around Jared Goff. I think this team's been built for Jared Goff to succeed, but now the Lions would have to succeed because of Jared Goff, and I don't think Brad or any GM outside of Kansas City, Buffalo, Cincinnati, you get what I'm saying, are ready to do that.
And can we make this very clear too?
Real quick,
go ahead, put the Pennywise thing up there. Yeah, just let's get this out of the way.
No, I want to shout out the super chats because they're building up here before you go.
Pennywise.
Robin's Nest, thank you for the $2. Says none of this happens without Sheila taking control. Appreciate you for that, Robin's Nest. Thank you. Davenport's Dong, #Bulge Army, my guy, my Italian brother.
Shout out to Bulge Army, man.
Brad got to whip out his bulge and sign Jared. That's from the Bulge Army. They're serious. And then Pennywise, hot take, trade Goff for draft capital. All right, Boone. And thank you guys for the donation. We appreciate it.
I just want to throw this out there and get ahead of this as well. As I don't think, like, to me, I would rather, I'm on your guys' side, and I've been very vocal on that. I would rather have a shorter deal with Jared Goff, and I'm a Jared Goff guy. I would rather have a 2 or 3 year deal, a 3-year, maybe even if it ends up being a 4th year deal, a 3rd year opt out. I would rather have that. In the NFL, I'm only signing a quarterback to a 5-year deal if it's one of those superstar quarterbacks. A Justin Herbert, a Joe Burrow, a Patrick Mahomes, a Josh Allen, a Lamar Jackson. Those are the guys to me that get those 5-year deals. Jared, obviously, by the sounds of it, that's what he potentially is trying to do, is get that. And that's just not, as a franchise, as a competent, when you're trying to win, you can't commit to a 5-year deal like that, not knowing kind of what, if you have to kind of keep that future. Now, it may end up being, and you know what, fellas? If he ends up being here, say he signs a 2 or 3 year deal, and then he signs another 2-year deal because he keeps winning and they win a Super Bowl, that 5, looking back at it, and this is just like what if this did happen, say they went and won a Super Bowl or 2, and then you go out there and you're in your 3rd year and you have to re-sign him again on a short-term deal, that 5-year deal probably looks way cheaper than that would in the future look. So, but I think it's a safer option just to go 2 or 3.
But and not that you're saying this, because I'm with, and you got to think too, whatever length you want, you got to add a year because he's under contract next season. So if you say 3, it's 4. If you say 2, it's 3.
I say 3. I say just get the 3-year deal. You have him the next 4 years and move on.
So 4 years.
Because 5 is a 6-year deal. That's a lot. That's till 2029. And committing to a quarterback who's not a Lamar Jackson or a Joe Burrow or Patrick Mahomes for 5 years, I'm a Jared Goff guy, and I can admit that and say, yep, that's a lot.
And that's a lot. I gotta. It's tough too, because you said the hypothetical. If he wins a Super Bowl, then the price goes way up. I can bring another hypothetical, and we can do this all day.
Exactly.
Where you pay him, and then he regresses, and you're stuck with him. Yep. Which again, I'm not saying will happen, but that's just the case with quarterbacks. There'll be guys who will get big contracts and regress, and then now the fan base and the front office is sitting there going, "How are we going to get out of this? What are we going to do here?" So I think Brad's just doing his due diligence here, negotiating, which is what a good general manager does. And I'll stand by what I think. And I you have to see what you have in Hendon Hooker. You just have to. Doesn't mean you don't sign him, but I think committing to 5 years or 4 years with the year would be 5. Before you even know what you have, I think is, it's tough, because there's also the side of, well, Jeff, what if Hendon stinks? True. But what if Hendon is something? And now you have a lot more capital to build this roster out. So there's always that. I wouldn't want Brad's job ever. I think it's a very difficult job, because, he's trying to think of the future. He's trying to think of the now. He understands Jared is the quarterback. He's the leader. I'm sure Brad's not sitting there going, yeah, we don't want to re-sign this guy. Like, he's doing his job. And I'm curious. I do think it'll get done, but I do think it'll be probably a 2 to 3 year deal, I think, because you got to think with that year. So whatever that is, add a year to it. So I think it gets done. And I think the number, Jeff? The number, I think, guys, is still going to be the reported number. I think it's 45 to 50.
I'm gonna have to backtrack real quick with you on this one, just a little bit. Just looking at NFL quarterback contracts, if you just break down typically how many years these quarterbacks sign for, the only 2-year deals in the NFL right now are Gardner Minshew, Taylor Heineke, Tyrod Taylor, Jared Stidham, Mike White. and Case Keenum. Those are all the 2-year deals on quarterbacks. Now 3-year deals, Aaron Rodgers with the Jets, when I think they had all that restructure or whatever he ended up doing with the Packers.
And he's also close to 40, so I get that. I mean,
yes. Baker Mayfield's a 3-year deal. Geno Smith's a 3-year deal, and that is it. So but the thing is I think Jared Goff is better than those guys. Looking at this, just looking at average NFL quarterbacks contracts, Dak Prescott 4 years, Stafford 4 years, Daniel Jones 4 years, Derek Carr 4 years, Goff was on a 4-year deal. That's rookie. Trevor Lawrence 4 years. Who else? I want to skip all these rookies.
Trevor's also rookie contract, but
yeah, and that's why I'm skipping them. I'm just reading them out loud and skipping.
Yeah,
them
but
here.
I get your point. And you
know what I'm saying? So I think that's the most average for a quarterback like Jared Goff.
And there is truth to that. I think it's probably, and again, you got that year, you got next year, so there's that too.
Yeah.
I don't know where you're at, Klotz, with this, with the comparisons to other quarterbacks. I mean, like Dak was in a position where I'm talking about his first payday, where he was already a franchise. It was his first payday, and he was a 3rd round pick. So they gave him a long-term extension and money. Jared's made a lot of money in his career, and he already had a long-term extension. So it's a little different, and it's tough because his story is a little different, right? He had a rough 2 years in LA, turned his career around for the last 2 years, I'd say. The first year, Detroit was a little rough. Wasn't on him, though. Team wasn't good. Last 2 years have been really good. So you're kind of in this, like, you're in an interesting position. Like the last 6 years, you'd be like, okay, you got 2 really good years, 2 recently really good years, and then you have those 2 in LA. But I do think he is a different quarterback, but I don't think it's as easy as the rest of the league gets 3-4 years, give him 3-4 years. It could be, but I think 3 years would be like the max I'd do. Given he already has a year. He already has a year left on his deal. So it's really 4.
Yeah, so I wonder if like they do take that into account, just because like when you bring up like the Mike Whites of the world, like obviously career backups, like that's what they'll be. They're fine quarterbacks situationally when your quarterback goes down, but as far as you want every year, no. But I mean, with that extra year, that would be 3 years for Jared Goff. But I look at a contract like Kirk Cousins, and not the money wise, but as far as the term, I think Kirk and Jared are on the same tier. And Atlanta does have more money to throw, considering the fact they're rebuilding right now. Detroit's not rebuilding. They've already been rebuilt. So if you throw money around like that, again, I think that's almost as crippling as handing a quarterback a 5-year contract as well. So I think 3 years is what Jared Goff should want. I think he should be okay with it, because at the end of the day, this is a business. It's not, oh, look what you've done for me for the last 2 years. It's what can you do for me in the future? And I don't think Jared Goff is in a position where he can be like, I can win you a Super Bowl without a doubt. Give me a long-term contract to do so.
It's fair. I don't think this. Oh no, Jeff. No, you.
Sorry, I actually hit the mute button. But I was just going to say quickly, Boom, before you go, and there's also so many. It's context, right? Like the Falcons felt like they need a quarterback. They're a quarterback away. I'll give this man whatever he wants. Like 4 years is fine. The Lions have a good roster. Like, and I think even though Jared's side could be like, listen, I did what your city hasn't done in quite some time, which is a fair argument. The Lions could come back with, well, this roster is a great roster. It's a top, I would say, 4 roster, 5 roster. If you want to go 3, you could argue it's in that range, whatever. Like you could also put that back on Jared. Like this is one of the best situations in the NFL. So yeah, we could do this all day. You know, it's not like that's how I look at it.
And I'll stand on it, and I'm gonna be the one that stands on the Jared Goff stuff. I think they end up. I don't even think maybe the year is the issue. I think what's happening right now, and the tweet that got put out from Adam Schefter, I would have loved to know more details on it. I don't think them saying they're on these complete opposite sides has anything to do with they're not going to get a deal done. I think the deal is inevitable to get done. And if I'm being honest, I think a 4-year deal gets done with like the 3rd year opt out. That's just me, and I'll stand on that. And if it doesn't happen, I'll take the hit on that. I just think what's happening here with the Schefter tweet is, like you originally said, Jeff, maybe this guaranteed money and kind of what the deal actually looks like when it comes to dollar signs is the issue that's coming down to. So that's where I think is what's going on here. Just looking at these NFL quarterback contracts, the 4 year seems like just the average. And if you take a team to the NFC Championship game and you've shown to be the leader in that locker room, I don't see how a guy like Brad Holmes, who just rewarded 2 guys for doing all of that, is going to say, hey, we're not going to do that. And I do understand he drafted Hendon Hooker. I get all of that. But you drafted Hendon Hooker before Jared Goff took you to an NFC Championship game and led that team. So things do change essentially, and that Hendon Hooker was that backup if Jared couldn't do what he did last year. So I'll stand on business with when it comes to that, and I'll stand on that hill that Jared Goff will end up getting a 4-year deal done by the end of the summer. I think as a quarterback contract, it takes more time than any other contracts probably in the NFL because there's so much more to it. And obviously with the draft, I know he got the 2 other ones done. I just don't think there was any rush. They probably know. Jared's been saying all along, I want to be in Detroit long term. I think there's going to be something done. So yeah, Connor, keep the receipts. And if it ends up going, they turn to Hendon Hooker, I'll switch so fast to be a Hendon Hooker fan too, because I'm a Detroit Lions guy and I want to win a Super Bowl.
What did I say?
You guys can give me all the hate you want, but I'll take it.
I think, and me and Lucas have been we've been in lockstep with Hendon Hooker. We believe he's the future of the team. I do believe that because of the talent. Doesn't mean Jared's some scrub, but I just look at the benefits, and I think you would agree, Lucas. I don't want to speak for you, but the benefits of a rookie deal, what he can do to this offense, and we have to find out, and we'll find out this preseason. But we spoke about how stacked the roster is. Dan Campbell mentioned, and we'll get to Brad Holmes' quote too, which Albert Breer put out. But Dan Campbell went on 97.1 today and said, just talking about this year's draft class, and he said, quote, if you get one of these players in the top 15, you're going to get a heck of a player. After that, there's a good run there of potential starters, end quote. And then he had another quote here. This is an offensive draft. So, well, don't do that, Lou. I don't want to hear it. But we'll hold on. I'll let you hold on. Let me get through. Well, this is where I think the momentum comes back in my favor. Okay. Here's Brad Holmes' quote. And Booner put this out. Albert Breer originally put this out. The Lions are among the teams looking to trade up in the first round of the NFL draft and potentially looking to draft an edge or a cornerback. Brad Holmes made a trade in round 1 the last 2 NFL drafts. Be ready, Lions fans. So we're getting Dan, which isn't the first time we've seen this, where Dan and Brad kind of say different things, but it's okay. I'm not looking too much into it.
I think that it's the same thing.
Well, yes, Dan complimenting the offensive players, and then you have Albert Breer saying corner, edge. So I think both can be true. They're still going to get a wide receiver not in the first round, and then trade up to get your defensive, your starter, hopefully in the secondary or next to Aiden.
Jeff, you're missing one. You're missing one part of the quote, though. Real quick, Lucas. One part of the quote. The top 15 players in this draft are all dogs, and like those are game changers that will change your roster instantly. Go ahead, Klotzy. Don't forget that part.
That's what I was going to say. I think even like the Xavier Legette, he doesn't fall in that top 15, but what it does tell me is that they're looking offensively and that they are probably going to add a wide receiver early. Doesn't have to mean in the first round. I just want a wide receiver taken in, hopefully in the first 2 rounds. Because I think if you look at it, I think it was last year, maybe it was 11 or 12 wide receivers were taken in the top 50 picks. So you think the Lions are sitting at 61. There's probably more than 11 or 12, if not just as many. So if you're sitting at 61, take those top 10, 11, 12 wide receivers, gone. So that's why I think move up. I think they're going into it offensively minded after they take care of defense. If they move up, it's for a defensive player, and I'd be ecstatic.
Yeah, I think the corner, the Quinion and Tyrion, and then Jared Verse and Latu. I think those are the 4 guys to really keep an eye on, because Dan literally, it was really weird because they don't usually show their hand at all. And Dan, if you listen to his interview today, he kind of went both ways on it. He talked about, hey, like Lions fans, or we might trade back. If we trade back, and would you rather have 1 sleep for 2 picks tomorrow, or would you rather just pick tonight and not have 2 picks? So he said, be ready for that. But then also he goes, the top 15 guys in this draft are all dogs who will change your team instantly. So to me, when your head coach says that, and they've been aggressive like the last 2 years they have about getting guys to change their team instantly, like BPA, it just, to me, it screams out. And that quote too wasn't just like Brad Holmes saying it. That's kind of the rumors that are going around. And when you hear some rumors, that means there's talk on the streets out there a little bit. So the Lions are probably making some phone calls to different teams that are in the top 15.
Yeah, he's doing his due diligence. Yeah. I think Brad knows just as well as we do. This team desperately needs a corner and an edge. And then another wide receiver, certainly. I personally, this is where you talk about the benefits of having another weapon, which you do make great points. I still don't believe a first-round wide receiver is where they should go. I think you could draft one in the second or third. If you want to go second, We can agree. We can agree there. But trading up for an edge, Latu. That's the guy that we'll see later. I don't want to give anything away, but someone I'd be very, very happy with in Quinion Mitchell. Those are two immediate impactful players for a team that's chasing a Super Bowl that could contribute right away. So it's great.
Got two questions for you guys.
What's up?
Two questions about trading up. First one, if a guy like Rome Odunze starts falling, and then this is a serious question, like a top 3 wide receiver in this draft, or a guy like him starts to fall, would you be very mad if they trade up to 12 and Rome Odunze is sitting there and they bring in Rome Odunze? Serious question, because I think I'm not saying it's a possibility, but I wouldn't, because the thing is they already traded up for JMO to 12 to get him. You have Amon-Ra St. Brown, so it's all right. Do you want to give capital up to go get another wide receiver, or do you want to get one at 61? I don't see them doing it, but I think the top 3 wide receivers in this draft are kind of on that different tier that are obvious wide receiver ones anywhere they go potentially.
And me, Lucas, we can have this conversation, and I'll just tell you this: Rome Odunze, I think, is a very good player. I think if you're giving up draft capital, plant the flag. Please be a defensive player. I have to know, Booner, with context with that scenario, who's there defensively.
I think it's the same. I think it's essentially the same people.
So let's say Quinion Mitchell's there and they take Rome Odunze. I'm very upset. I'm very upset.
So this isn't something that I'm like I want them to do. I've seen this on Twitter and I've seen in comments people say Rome Odunze if he falls in this trade up. And in my comments, I just wanted to bring that up. The other one I wanted to bring up too, and I don't think they should do this as well. How would you guys feel if they traded up the way this tackle class is and say they just absolutely love a dude? They think a guy is like Penei Sewell. He's just like Penei is, and they trade up and they go after a guy. Offensive lineman, attack one of these tackles that are supposed to be at like another tier, and say they move up to get one of those with Taylor Decker on 1 year.
Let me put it like this to summarize anything. If they trade up and get a guy that's in the top 2 of any of their positional group, name the positional group outside of linebacker and running back and tight end, I'm okay with it.
So you're out on the Rome Odunze thing.
No, I'm in on it because
you said top 2.
This is how if we're talking about Rome Odunze specifically, let's break this down at least in the NFC. Could we agree, especially even last year and this year, the 49ers defense is better, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
The Lions offensive line is better. But then quarterback play, I would say similar tier between Purdy and Goff. Not saying who's better, just saying the play. Okay, running back. I think this year you can say Jameer and McCaffrey are similar. Wide receivers. Debo, Amon-Ra gets that, but Debo's damn good. Wide receiver 2 is a drop-off between, in my opinion, if they hang on to Brandon Ayuk, and then you go to JMO. I'm taking Brandon Ayuk 7 times out of 7, every day of the week, twice on Sunday. That's not a diss towards JMO. Then you could say, we'll talk about Laporta. All right, here's George Kittle. I think if you look at that stronger defense, find a way to get a stronger offense, exploit the weaknesses in San Fran's defense, which is in secondary, and then therefore I think you have a better team. And then you can still, people say, we can get wide receiver in the 2nd or 3rd round. You can say that with any position. You can find value with any position.
I just wanted the one to me that was interesting is the tackle as well. That was all. I just wanted to see where you guys, because I saw that. I didn't actually see it. That was one I just thought in my head. There's so many tackles and everyone's talking about them. I watched a couple of videos today on some of these dudes, and it's crazy the way Penei Sewell's name gets thrown around for guys. Just like he's the best in the league, and people just, it feels like every tackle this year, Penei Sewell type. But if that's the case, they did it his first year, and Taylor Decker's on his last year. If you see the Detroit Lions make a trade up to number 12, and there's that best tackle they have at the top of their board sitting there, and they take them, and everyone's like, no, what are you doing? Quinyon's on the board. It seems like a Brad Holmes type of thing to do.
An offensive player, I've made this clear. Offensive line, you can certainly convince. I'd be okay with it because JPJ is one of my favorite, really potential players at 29. Yeah. But if you trade up and get like a Graham Barton or an offensive line, I get it because Taylor Decker's coming up for an extension, and if you can get a player that can fill that role on a rookie deal, I'm cool with it. In the 5th-year option, like now we're keeping this offensive line elite. Where me and Lucas part ways, and although you are right about Brandon Ayuk, I think we'd all agree he's better than JMO. I have confidence that JMO can fill that wide receiver 2 role this year, so I'm not as concerned. And then you can kind of figure it out with a 2nd-round pick alongside him. That's where I'm at with it. And that's where and I get your point about, hey, it's an offensive league at the end of the day. Like, add weapons. It's not going to hurt Jared. Of course it won't. It's going to make him better. But I don't know. That's where I'm at. I wouldn't. The only offensive player I'm cool with is an offensive lineman in the first round. If you're trading up, especially to trade up for one, trade up for a wide receiver.
I don't agree with trading up for a wide receiver because there's just no situation where Rome Odunze falls out of the top 10.
There's not, but there were some people that were making comments on Twitter, and then I think I saw someone here in our chat earlier today that put Odunze in there if you trade up, especially when I just put that report out saying that there's been calls from Detroit. I did see some people say Rome Odunze if he does drop. Or like if a Dallas Turner gets to 12, which I've seen a lot of mocks of him getting to 12, that's someone that you attack at 12. So there are some things. I think tomorrow could be very interesting. If that rumor is true, it could be a smokescreen again. Things get really, really interesting really quick for the Lions.
Real quick, Steve, we appreciate you. Thank you for the $5. Says Trey Hendrickson wants out of Cincy. 1, would you want him on the Lions? Check his stats. 2, what would it cost to bring him to Detroit? Include Broderick Martin.
Do you want to break this down for you, Klotzy?
Yeah, no, me and Booner
So
had this
before
conversation.
John comes on, just give your thoughts on this situation. Is it realistic? Because I see Lions fans talking about it. I don't think it's realistic. And
hang up the phone. Don't want to hear it. It's not happening.
Yeah. We're because I pitched for Hassan Reddick, Lucas, but I do believe a guy like Hassan would play on his last year. He's playing with the Jets. I don't think Trey Hendrickson would play. I think he'd want an extension if he's going to.
No, and I even saw reports, like there was reports after that Cincy has no intentions of dealing him, like they're not trading him. And then there was a report shortly after that he's threatening retirement. So he's obviously going to stay in Cincinnati or retire. There's no chance of him leaving. But the thought of it is nuts because I sent it to Booner earlier. I think I sent it to you guys too. But I mean, over the last 3 seasons, it goes TJ Watt, Myles Garrett, Nick Bosa, Micah Parsons, and then Trey Hendrickson for leaders in sacks. So the man has been a dog, not to mention, hypothetically, if you were to bring him in Detroit, guess who was just in Cincinnati as well? DJ Reader. So just the combination of that, it's a match made in heaven, but when you add in the financials, which Booner definitely put me onto more, I thought Trey Hendrickson would probably be a guy that would want like $20 million. But when you look at his stats, like we just brought up, I mean, he's going to be asking for probably 24 plus. And I just think if you had him and Hutch on the other side of each other, it would be such a good duo, but people wouldn't realize it until their team was playing the Detroit Lions because it's Trey Hendrickson. He's never got the most attention in the league, even though he should have had. He had 17 and a half sacks last year. But I don't think it's going to happen.
And I think, too, to your point, Klotzy, like when I was trying to breaking it down to you earlier, it's just when you look at the defensive end contracts, the reasoning behind Trey Hendrickson asking out and saying, hey, I want to trade is because he wanted that long-term deal. So wherever he goes and when they trade him, he's going to go somewhere to sign it instantly. I heard a lot of people throwing around the word rental. That's the farthest thing from a rental because the reason he's leaving is because he wants the money. He wants to go somewhere. And to be honest, guys, like looking at other deals and going out there and getting 17 and a half sacks last year, he's going to want like 25 to 28 million a year for probably like that 4-year deal. Like that is a big contract to give out, especially next year when you're going to have to give a deal to Aiden Hutchinson. So I just don't think it's realistic, especially after you're paying other guys on this team. And it's very, very, very unrealistic in my opinion to bring a guy like that in.
Well, fellas, I mean, every single Wednesday, it's very realistic. We are graced by the presence of the publisher of all Lions, of course, host of the Detroit Sports Podcast, good friend of the program. Please welcome in the Doc, Mr. John Maakaron. John,
yo, Doc.
John, by the way, John had a day today. John, they were whining and dining the media. Can you talk about today? How'd it go, man? I saw you downtown. You did a great job covering it. How was it?
Yeah, absolutely. First and foremost, did I push all the buttons correctly? There's a lot of buttons to push to set up an interview like this, and sometimes you forget. So
you sound great.
Okay, am I sounding good?
You're good, Doc. You're good.
Oh man, it's good. So tonight's a Corona night.
Woo!
There we go.
There you go, Doc.
The night before Corona. I love it.
Absolutely. It was great. Got to go downtown, the site of Tiger Stadium. Yes. Old Tiger Stadium. It was great to be on those hallowed grounds, to see the 13 players that were there. Got to talk to briefly Roger Goodell. And then after we talked to some of the players, it was great. Talked to Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May. Got to see some female content creators trying to trick some of these guys with some trivia. I was like, get out of the way. It's time for the doc to get in here. But I had to fight my way through some of the content creators. It was great.
Did you see Sketch?
Then I thought that was going to be it for the day, just to break down this NFL draft event. And then all of a sudden, all the news broke with the contracts, the draft rumors. Oh my gosh, I thought this was going to be like this starting Thursday, but for it to start today, I'm amped up. It's going to be a great week, boys, and I'm ready for it. I'm amped up.
What's up, Boone? No, you can go. You were saying something. I'll let you finish.
No, I was just going to ask if you saw Sketch. I saw like the most famous person in the world. Sketch was at the old Tiger Stadium running routes with Caleb Williams today, and he tore. I was watching it. He tore his hamstring running routes with Caleb Williams. It was unbelievable. I don't know if you saw him as well. Like the most famous person in the world.
I didn't see Sketch. I was hanging more by the female influencers trying to see what kind of questions they were going to try to ask. It was funny as all hell. It had a Super Bowl feel. It was a big time deal, but it was cold as hell. What the hell? It's late April and it's 40 degrees and everybody's talking about Detroit being cold as fuck downtown. But hell, look, bottom line, the eyes of the NFL world are here. Detroit is ready. The draft is upon us. It's going to be great. The Lions are going to get better over the next 3 days, and it's going to be a fun time, man. Let's go.
John, can I ask you to, and I'll start this off because we talked about it for a pretty good amount of time today. The extensions that came out, Penei Sewell, Amon-Ra St. Brown, the fellas were all in lockstep here with their value. They deserve the money. There's really no debate there. Can you provide some context, or at least from what you know, or just your opinion on the Jared Goff side of things? I said earlier that my personal opinion, Doc, is most likely, again, this is just my opinion, it has to do with the length. I don't want your opinion on that. Guaranteed money, I don't see them being far apart on potentially. I think it's more Jared's camp wants a long-term deal because he has 1 year left, so you got to tack that on. And maybe Brad's trying to keep it more shorter. Am I off on that?
Not at all. You look at it before I came on and looking at the terms at All Lions, our writer Christian looked at the terms that Amon-Ra got, and you look at what the contract Penei got, a lot of guaranteed money. If you're Jared Goff, of course you're happy for the guys getting extension, but the optics are, wait a minute, Brad Holmes took care of the young guys first before one of the key reasons this football team took a step forward. If you're Jared Goff, you got to be like, wait a minute. Shouldn't it be kind of maybe I get taken care of first? Usually quarterbacks kind of get taken care of. Lamar got taken care of. And I know that these deals sometimes take until the summer, and that's what many people are expecting. But I would agree with your sentiment. But at the same token, what I'm hearing, whispers behind the scenes, is that Jared Goff maybe is not going to come off that $50 million asking price. And he believes he's worth it. And I believe that he knows what he means to this organization, and he doesn't want to come down. Potentially his agent for sure doesn't want to bring the price down. But as I was thinking beforehand, you know what? You know who the man is for the job? Besides Brad Holmes, it's Steve Yzerman. When he does his contracts, he has his number, and that's it. He doesn't move off of it. And I was just thinking, grabbing the Corona, cutting up the lime to put in it. You know what? If you're Brad Holmes and you want to take a hard line stance and you say, look, here's what I'm offering. It's 4 years, $160 million, all guaranteed, and that's it. And incrementally, the representatives of Jared Goff are going to want to maximize what he can get in terms of length, guaranteed money, and all that. And so I would presume at this point they're in the active negotiation phase. I'm sure it's going to be a healthy negotiation. But if you're Jared Goff's camp, why would you come down from $50 million? You brought this team to playoff wins. You're the face of the organization. You embody everything that you think a quarterback should be. But if you're Brad Holmes, you are somebody that also has to recognize there's some more mouths to feed. So I think that maybe we all thought it was going to land between 45 and 50. There's a good chance maybe it lands at with 45 being the high side. Maybe it lands between 40 and 45. I'm certain Brad Holmes is like, look, if you want some of these talented players around you, we can't pay everybody $30 million a year. And I just think that the negotiation is going to be a healthy one and probably go all the way up until training camp.
Hey, real quick too, before I have a draft question for you, Dak. Before that, real quick, just to follow up with that, does it feel like that is it like inevitable that the deal is going to get done this summer, or do you think there's a chance that this gets held up?
Okay, now here's the tough part is that you don't want a player to be upset. You don't want Jared Goff going into this year as a lame duck. You recognize, you say, wait a minute, he's definitely, among the top paid quarterbacks, but I think that you got to show a commitment to Jared Goff. I believe that moving forward, you see that this player probably gives you the best chance to have consistent playoff success. But at the same token, if you're Brad Holmes, you also have to look to the future and you have to say, wait a minute, a lot of teams that end up struggling pay their quarterbacks a big amount of money. The league trend has been to go younger. Would you hand the keys to Hendon Hooker after 2024? I doubt it. I think it's a big risk. It's a rough signal to send to the locker room if you don't extend Jared Goff. I believe the deal will get done. It's just hammering out the details along the way. I would be shocked if they don't do it, because first and foremost, if you don't want the media relishing in negativity, if you don't pay Jared Goff in October, somebody that you're talking to might be calling for Hendon Hooker to play, and let's see what he's got. And you don't want that talk starting. You want a comfortable, relaxed Jared Goff. You don't want him going into his year where everyone's going to speculate, wait a minute, why didn't he get paid? That means the organization doesn't believe in him. And I just don't see that happening. He's going to get the deal done, but it might not be as much as people think.
Yeah. Go ahead, Klotz. I didn't. Go ahead.
What's up, Boone?
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I was just gonna ask, with all these reports coming out, especially the one that came out later today or earlier today, with them moving back up in the top 15, do you think there's any legitimacy to that? And if they were, we just got done, we think it's going to be a defensive player, but is there any chance of it being an offensive player?
Oh, yeah. Look, Sports Illustrated on it. Albert Breer, one of the best NFL insiders in the game. It's been great to be part of that, to be able to tap into insights from the mothership. Oh, man. Look, first and foremost, if the Lions want a player, they're going to do everything they can to get that player. You would think defensively is the area they would go, but would they want to go out there and get another explosive weapon? I don't think so. I don't think that that's really, a situation in which it's the best suited, especially when you look at now what's happened. It may behoove this football team to trade down, because then you don't have to invest as much. The further down you go, the potential it is you pay less, and you don't have to guarantee that fifth-year option, or you don't have to, pay an exorbitant signing bonus. But look, it all is going to depend on the draft board, who the Lions find to be the most impactful, who they're convicted on. There's so many players I think that the Lions would be able to justify trading up for. But I think you guys are probably right. It would probably be, if they move up, probably be for the guy that is going to play opposite of Aiden Hutchinson, whether it be Jared Verse, whether it be, Jarius Robinson, somebody that they feel is somebody that they trust can be somebody that can have impact. And I think you get impact sooner with a defensive lineman than you do a cornerback. A guy that one of my writers is in love with, I'm kind of slowly coming around to him, is Latu. But I just think that you can get more impact with other players as well. But if you go to All Lions and you check out our Twitter page, we debated it. Christian just really loves Latu, feels like he's one of the best out there. So pay attention to that name. But with Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell, I think that Dan put out a smokescreen when he was like, if we don't find our guy, we're going to trade down. Look, I feel like if there's a guy that they really covet and they believe he's going to have an impact and is a Detroit Lion, and they believe it and they're convicted, they're going up. They're going to make the move. Brad Holmes is not somebody that just is going to settle. They'll take their chance. And if they don't, then I think that there's an opportunity as well to trade down. So it's going to be a very fun night. It's all going to depend on how that draft board shakes out. But look, it's great. I think that it would be awesome. It would be spectacular and I think what's going to pop the crowd the most, 13, 14, 15 comes around and you hear the Detroit Lions trade up and you got the guy there. If they trade up for Terrion Arnold and he's there, boom, you have the instant celebration. You have the guy being happy. He's donning the jersey in front of the passionate audience. It's a win-win, and you get a player that Nick Saban loves. So I wouldn't be devastated if it was Terrion Arnold. But to me, I'm definitely of the opinion you potentially should get somebody to play across from Aiden Hutchinson. The guy for me that would excite me if they go up and get a wide receiver, go out there and get a guy. Go out and potentially get a Thomas, or go out there and get a Leggett if you feel like he's going to fall. But at the same time, you know, I just think that it's hard when you see that defense. There's a lot of offensive weapons they got, and you can get wide receivers later on. It's hard to get some of those impactful defenders.
Yeah, and he's preaching. And Doc, kind of to that point you brought up there, that today Dan actually said and mentioned, hey, Detroit fans, would you rather have one night's sleep and get 2 more picks tomorrow, or just take a pick now? What are your thoughts then if they do stay at 29, and you threw out a lot of names there like the Latus and Terrion Arnolds? If they stay at 29 or go back into that second round, what are some, like, what is your kind of favorite names of going about that? Like, is it like a Darius Robinson? I heard you mention him, or Kool-Aid McKinstry seems to be a hot name, or even if you trade back and a Mikey Sanders still, what are some names for you that you're kind of have an eye on that you want them to take if they end up trading back or staying at 29?
Yeah, Booner's Bulge. You got a fan, huh? Let's cool.
Go, man. Shout out Booner's Bulge.
How am I gonna take this seriously? This is good. Look, staying at 29 is also ideal. I think that there's a lot of options. That's what this draft is great, is that universally most people are going to believe that whatever the Lions do, it's going to be good. We'll toast it. And if they listen, for me, having a grind of a Wednesday, and the beginning of my Thursday is going to be busy. If they go out and they trade down and it's announced early and we can just relax on Thursday, enjoy the draft like everybody else, that would be great. But if they stay at 29, look, the name that's just kind of popping up, you said Kool-Aid McKinstry. Look, he's coming off the injury, so that puts everybody's radar on Brad Holmes. He likes those guys that potentially are coming off of injury and have potential. But the name that just keeps popping up all over the internet, had a chance at the event I went to talk to Daniel Jeremiah. He definitely raved about Kool-Aid McKinstry, but he said, when I asked him directly, I said, what do you think of the offensive line class? Who impresses you? Barton, Jackson Powers Johnson, Frazier? And he said, look, all of them. If you land an offensive lineman at 29, Detroit, be happy, toast it. These guys are great. But he said, look, if there's a guy that just screams to Daniel Jeremiah, and it seems like now it's screaming to everybody else, it's Frazier from West Virginia. If the Lions land Frazier, it feels like he's the Dan Campbell guy in this draft. It feels like he's the guy that Dan Campbell would like, a road grader, a guy that's really tough, versatile, just has the ability, I think, to step in, even compete for a starting job right away. So you look at Frazier, that's a name that's kind of the hot name that's rising up the board. I don't know if he'll be there. In our latest All Lions mock draft, our writer put him down there in the second round with the trade down. But I don't know if he'll be there down in the 40s. So if there's an offensive lineman that you believe can come in and compete sooner rather than later, I would have no problem with that. Cornerback is just the toughest spot because it takes a little bit of time. And Kool-Aid McKinstry, I also asked Daniel Jeremiah about, and it'll be featured in tomorrow's early morning story. But I just think that that's a player that, you know, has some things that he's going to have to work out before he becomes a stout NFL player. And so for me, you go offensive line, you make everybody happy, you build in the trenches, and you continue, because you got 3 guys in their 30s, and you now have Penei Sewell under contract. You want to give him, you know, the starting to start the rebuild of having the next generation of the offensive line come in and do some things.
Yeah, John, I tried to, over the last, the more we talk about the draft, the more comfortable I am with drafting an offensive lineman, given it's this team's identity in the trenches, which offensive line certainly is. And part of it too, and I want to ask you about this because I saw this floating around and I want your insight on it to kind of give a different perspective. If there is a Zach Frazier or a JPJ, which I would be comfortable with those selections, you have to also think of Frank Ragnow and how much longer he has in the NFL. I saw somewhere that he expects, and I don't think this was true to be fair, but your opinion on it, maybe a year or so. He's not even 30 yet. What do you think the future of Frank Ragnow holds in the NFL? And maybe how does that affect maybe taking a Zach Frazier or a JPJ? You think he's got a year left, or could you see him playing a little longer?
Man, you know what's interesting is that now with the contracts that were given out, what does that mean for Taylor Decker? Does that mean he plays his last year? Does he want to go out with the guy? It's all going to be predicated too on the success. If the Lions get like to the Super Bowl and lose, would you see Frank Ragnow getting a taste and then walking away? The guy's an ultimate competitor. It's going to really be predicated on how this season goes. Look, he's already been with the, he really wants to honor the extension. And I just would have a hard time seeing him just walk away. I know that the reports, people are saying, hey, that they wouldn't be surprised if he walked away, but I would be. I think that he's the ultimate gamer. You guys, he played with literally a throat situation and still came out there and played, had his throat impacted and didn't leave the game. So he wants to be out there. I think he's, these offensive linemen are warriors. And so if you ask him during the season, he's going to say, man, I'm probably thinking about it. But when you get a couple months off and you get a chance to rehab it and you get a chance to go back, when they get that taste and it's going to be, look, if the Lions do win the Super Bowl in 24, that also maybe make it easier for him to walk away. But I don't think that that's going to play a big part in the Lions draft decision, because I think that Frank Ragnow is going to keep a young center at bay for a couple years. He's a gamer, and I think that he wants to be somebody that leads this football team. So like I said, the grind of an NFL season does get to people, and the injuries, you've seen that he's got to manage it. But the Lions have found a perfect plan where he gets a day off of practice every week. After a day off, they're maintaining it, and he's able to produce at a very high level. So why would you walk away? I think that it's all going to be really predicated on how he does perform this year and the success of the team. There's no way, if the Lions get an inch closer and lose, and you are a competitor like Frank Ragnow is, I would be shocked if he walked away.
Yeah, especially if he stays upright. Like if he suffers an injury, again, the toe is messed up again, or another significant injury, maybe that does change. But I'm with you. I don't see it. They're the best they've been in his career. It's tough to walk away from that.
Yeah, no, that would be very difficult. Very difficult. But Doc, tomorrow, the first round's tomorrow. Everybody's excited for that. But then Friday, the second and third rounds start to click on. And after the dust settles in the first round, who are maybe a player or two that you would just love for the Lions to pick up in those second and third rounds?
Yeah, looking at the film, my guy Christian kind of put me onto a lot of players. And you look at it, Luke McCaffrey is a wide receiver that can do some things. I think if you look for a wide receiver, you look for a player that comes from great lineage. Christian McCaffrey's brother, you look at it, and he's a player that I think could definitely come in and do some things. You look at a lot of what the Lions can do. I'm wondering which safety they're going to look at, because I do believe that they're going to probably upgrade the safety position as well. You look at it, and I think you got to have competition at the same time. I wonder if they kind of want to have competition with Kirby Joseph to see if he can raise his game. There's a lot of players in those rounds that you want to look at. McCaffrey's one of them. I'm wondering, when you look at some of the other edge rushers, you look at it and you kind of are always looking at who are Dan Campbell guys. And I think the son of Luther Ellis, I think would come in and be a player that, I think would love being part of the Detroit Lions. I'm wondering too, like they don't have a pick, I believe, in the fourth round. Do they try to maneuver and get that eighth pick? So look, for Brad Holmes, the more picks, the merrier. But I am wondering kind of their strategy. Would they go offense first and then tackle the defenders later? I think there's just more impact on defense and earlier, and you can go more on the offense in terms of linemen as well later in the draft. But pay attention to Luke McCaffrey, maybe Brendan Rice that you're looking for. But at the same token, pay attention to, I think, the position that many people believe they're going to target as safety in later rounds.
You just spoke to Lucas's soul there with those
Luke
players.
McCaffrey and safety, because Lucas has brought up safety to us a couple times.
And Joe Ellis. Jesus.
Yeah, I want to bring up this position as well. And kind of to your point there, Doc, if they stay at 29, you mentioned them kind of just, hey, let's just go offensive line and keep that offensive line built up, kind of the heart of the team there. With that, then shows they're, if they stay away from a Kool-Aid or don't trade up for a Quinion or Terrion, I think on the defensive side, I think outside of edge, we can all agree that this corner situation with Cam Sutton, that whole thing that went down is a little up in the air still a little bit. Brad did seem like in some press conferences he's comfortable with Amik Robertson and as well as Carlton Davis. Do you have any worries about that? Has that kind of crossed your mind, or even in like the press conferences in those rooms? Has that been a conversation of talk at all? What's going on in this corner room? Because they do say they feel comfortable with it, but just if we're being honest, it's obvious that they felt like Cam Sutton was going to be a part of that, and he's just gone now, and that seems like it has to be addressed. Has there been any conversation with that?
Yeah, that's a big concern. I think they're going to address it. I think that you look at the cornerback spot from all the buzz that you've heard, all the reports that you've seen, they've done heavy amount of work on two positions, wide receiver and cornerback. So you recognize too that you've lost Josh Reynolds. You want to keep that room stout. So you recognize too that there's some players that later on in the draft that you could target. But look, they upgraded the room, but there's a lot of worry and concern too, because look, in every situation, Amik Robertson probably going to play in the slot. You give Brian Branch a spell if he plays a little bit of safety and does a little bit of dual roles. But Amik Robertson a little bit undersized, and so he's going to have some competition that he's got to perform as well. You look at it and you say Carlton Davis. I think he's a strong upgrade from what you had, but I think that at the same token, he'll be tested early, and we'll see, is he ready to step up and be that individual? The big question mark is Emmanuel Mosley. I think in our talks before, we wondered, okay, is this a player that you think could potentially you could move on from and upgrade the spot because of his injury history? But the Lions still want to see what he was about. And I saw his dedication. And even when he was rehabbing from injury, he was there at the practice facility. He's a guy that was constantly in the ear of Aaron Glenn. If he can stay healthy, you still don't know what you've got in that player. The guy that you saw on film a couple years ago was a physical corner that could do some things. But man, it's easier said than done to find cornerbacks that can play press man corner. And man, I think you guys that asked me last week who was the guy that would make me flip out, and I said it was Cooper DeJean. Well, guess whose name popped up today and who said it? Joel Klatt. And I'll give the details tomorrow in my article, but he sat up there and he was, of course, talking about Michigan, which made me groan and be like, oh my God, why is Michigan great? But he sat up there and he was like, a player that I love, that I just can't think, that I just believe strongly should be a Lion is Cooper DeJean. And he was talking about, I don't know, but many people are not talking about it, but that guy could be a safety. He fits everything that the Lions would love in regards to his athleticism, his gamer, the Lions that love Iowa. And I'm sitting there going, oh my God, it's Cooper DeJean. And I'm like, Jesus, that's not the guy. That's kind of the guy would have the most question marks about. But Joel Klatt loves him. And a lot of people do as well. I'm wondering if he's there at 29, would the Lions invest in a guy that projects more to be more of a safety than, because he doesn't play man. There aren't that many great press man corners. And it forced last year with what the Lions had, it forced them to play more zone, and it forced Aaron Glenn to blitz a lot more. Kool-Aid McKinstry, a lot better, a lot more proficient at press man. So it'll be interesting to see. The cornerback spot should give everybody a worry because it's tough all the way around, but a lot of teams are looking for upgrades at that spot. They gave up far too many yards. I think it'll be better, but sitting here today, I don't want to relish in negativity, but that is the unit that we all should be worried about the most, is the defensive backs room.
And real quick, I just want to follow up with that, Doc. For tomorrow, it's really a question for Thursday, Friday, not even Saturday as much. Brad's an active guy. Outside of just trading up in the first, like last year in the second round, he was making trades. Is he gonna is he gonna be a quick is he gonna be super active here? Is it gonna be like trade? Because I remember we talked about it yesterday on our show. Lucas and I were covering it at Woodward, and when we were covering it, we were both on socials and I was on the desk, and it was the most overwhelming thing. Brad Holmes had Lucas literally in a blender, and Lucas went, I don't know what I could do anymore. I need help over here, because there was just so many trades. So is that we're going to see that again this year? He does have capital for the next 2 years.
Yeah. Well, look, you look at it, and for a guy like me, it would be a complete nightmare because we have the cycle of information that we got to give out for every pick. So if he does be active, I'm hoping that one trade down tomorrow, and then we can rest up a little bit, get our bearings from a rough Wednesday, and then go after it on Friday and Saturday. But look, I think that, right now they got 7 picks. I think that at most this year they'll have 8. And I do think that they could position themselves where they could add additional capital next year. Look, Brad Holmes is a guy that likes to make trades, and there could be a package of trades on day 2 where you get additional capital, get that additional 4th round pick that you don't have, and maybe even get another pick next year. But I think that in the end, if there are a lot of deals, it'll be a lot of moving and shaking, like taking a couple picks from this year, moving up a spot, then taking a couple picks from next year and moving in back into this spot and kind of shuffling the deck. As long as they're spread apart, it gives reporters enough time to gather their bearings, get the information that's out there. But look, Brad Holmes, he's got himself a nice reputation, but why wouldn't you want him to get as many picks as possible? The man cooks. So why not give him the most ingredients? And the more picks that he gets, the better it is for the Detroit Lions, because his hit rate is unbelievable. So, while look, it would be a small irritant if he got, the 9th and 10th pick, and if especially does it on day 3, I don't mind it at all, because the more options this team has for depth and competition, we all know that the end result is going to be a football team that wins a lot of games in November and December.
And Doc, too, last question I got for you, and it's something we've put on the show. I guess we broke it in a way, not the initial report, but we caught it on Tracy Walker's story. He was at Detroit. He was at the Metro. He's flying in. He was in the D. What's going on with Tracy Walker? Have you heard anything about them potentially bringing him back, unless he's just back for another reason? But what's going on with the Tracy Walker stuff? Because I caught it, and then it kind of died in the media realm. I don't know what's going on with that.
Yeah, real fast. Let me address Tyler. Yeah, I'm still on. I got inside knowledge. I got the information. I'm there. And I can go for 2, 3, 4 hours, man. I got so much information. I'm in the building. I have the information.
This is the information we need. We need the information.
I don't want to talk about myself too much. But I'll say this, like I said, I'm affiliated with Sports Illustrated that has a deep inside connection to Dan Campbell and Rod Wood, and they text back and forth. So where do you think I get some of the information that comes out in regards to some of the scouting reports we did? So pay attention. But I want to say this in regards to Tracy Walker. I think that one of the things that irritates me the most is that this fan base attaches to everybody that's on the roster and then wants them back when Brad Holmes recognizes they're not good anymore. Listen, boys, common sense. It was a layover. The man was vacationing and probably was hitting up Detroit as a layover on his way from his hometown to the Bahamas. There ain't no way the Lions want to go back to Tracy Walker. He lost a step, and unfortunately, he got beat out. And think about it. When you just saw the trajectory of what happened, he was a guy that was a starter and then, no disrespect, eventually did not see the field anymore. Had a special teams role and then did not see the field. So I know that the Lions fans have an opportunity to, be real supportive of these guys. But bottom line, there's a lot better safeties out there. And look, I know that there is an opportunity for him to come back on a cheaper deal. The reason why it died in the media is because I think that there's better options in the draft. I think that you got Brian Branch that can do a lot of things and is versatile. You have some guys that you brought in for top 30 visits that are safeties. You could get and draft Cooper DeJean, and he's a guy as well. And so I look at it and I say, look, I wouldn't be shocked if he comes back, but I just think that, in regards to what's going on, I just think that the depth chart would indicate that he would come back as the 5th safety. So I don't think that that's a situation in which you don't need to revisit that situation. It's done, and he had his run. Unfortunately, it ends because of injury. It wasn't because he wasn't talented. If he stayed healthy, then you have an opportunity. He would have been a guy that you want on this roster. Very physical, stand-up guy. But coming back from that injury at his spot, man, that's tough.
Yeah, I mean, real quick before we get you out of here, the Cooper DeJean, and I love Joe Klatt. All right, people know how much I love Joe Klatt. I've never also heard Joe Klatt talk bad about anybody, so he just kind of loves it. He just loves everybody. It's just how it's his job. But
I love Dan Orlovsky.
Hey, well, Joel, not slandering him. All right, we'll get you out of here, Doc. We appreciate you. Good luck this weekend, and then some. Doc gonna be busy next Wednesday. It'll be a lot of fun. We'll be downtown, so I know you'll be in the lab. So good luck to you, my good friend, and we'll catch you next week.
Yeah, I can't wait to recap it all with you boys. It's going to be great. Look, Brad Holmes is going to cook. He's going to make everything really, I think the fan base is going to enjoy it. And please, look, don't want to give too many PSAs and tell people what to do, but just a quick preview of my podcast tomorrow. please, if I'm walking around tomorrow and it's 5 o'clock, I don't want a contact high, people. Please go there, put on your Sunday best, act appropriately, only have one Corona. I cannot walk the streets of Detroit and then show up to Allen Park smelling like the sticky icky. Okay, let's keep it professional. I don't want the green haze all over Detroit because it's going to be reflected upon the entire city. Okay, we all do that other times. This weekend, put the sticky icky away and put on your best and entertain these people from out of town. Because if I see reports that Detroit stunk it up and made it an embarrassment, it's not going to be good. Cheers, boys. Let's go Lions.
Let's go, John.
Let's
there you go.
baby.
Mr. John Maakaron, publisher of All Lions, host of the Detroit Sports Podcast. Link will be in the description.
Klotz with the 2007 duck lips, though. Unbelievable. I mean, I haven't seen the duck lips since I was in middle school. That was unbelievable.
Well, I was gifted these great lips from the man up above.
That was insane. That was insane.
Well, we got our guy joining the program. He has made his appearance, and that is Mr. Michael Gentry. Michael,
I'm back from the dead. Back from the dead.
You're
Doing
back.
great.
You're back. He has risen.
Yes.
You know what? I'm happy
sorry
you're
for
here.
being late, but better late than never. You know.
Yeah, that's fair.
How the boys doing?
And we're talking to
How the boys doing?
Did you hear the Doc's PSA? No sticky icky. No sticky icky on draft night. Your thoughts, Mike?
Well, that's fair. It actually, when we went down there today, it did smell like the sticky icky, but yeah, tomorrow let's try and stay away from that unless you're kind of away from that area. You know,
Yep.
Let's lock in.
Be a
No
good
kidding.
example.
Gentry.
What?
Come on now.
What?
I don't know what this front is that you're putting up right now, but let's hold accountability to who we are. Okay.
I said away.
Not,
I said
do
away
not
from the
ask
draft
others
stuff.
to do what you would not do yourself, Gentry. BMG.
It's a bar. Yeah, it's a bar.
Fair. It's fair.
Yeah,
Set
I mean,
a good example. Smoke the weed a couple blocks away. You know, it's children around.
just don't go blow a cloud down
family
after
environment,
face, but,
Klotz. It's a family environment. Let's grow up here a little bit.
Respect it. Respect
Hey,
it.
but
It's family. It's a family environment. Come on,
You can
now,
still
boys.
indulge, but you know.
Yeah. So let's be respectful and let's be a grown adults.
Always
around
be
here.
respectful.
It's 2024.
Always
It's
be respectful about it.
2024. If there's kids there's going to be someone walking around with, depending on where you're at, potentially with an alcoholic beverage.
It's
you can
a family
handle it.
environment. Let's put on a family environment for the people.
What do we got?
Right.
Paw Patrol playing? I mean, it's the NFL draft. I mean, come
It's
on,
the
man.
NFL draft. It's a family environment. Let the people
now
enjoy.
the tide's turned. You're gatekeeping.
Oh, no.
Oh no!
How this
I mean,
works around here.
Booner, they held the Super Bowl in Vegas.
Now
and
who's the
that
Karen?
place was an absolute.
At least
dumpster.
Pennywise, at least you guys are admitting you guys were being the Karens yesterday. I appreciate that. So that's a
No, I'm
that's
just
a
reading a
1-1. I'll go 1-1 here. Yesterday to today.
If that
1-1.
helped you sleep at night, Booner, then one.
I did.
No, it's gonna
Talk
be
the
fun.
ball.
What I saw that I don't know if it's true. I don't have the numbers, but it's gonna be close to 500,000 people down there. It's
A lot of
me
people.
and Mike were down there today. We met so really, you know what? We met some people down there. We met, I believe his name was Bryce. I could have butchered that, but he's from Iowa, watches the program. He's a fan of the fellas. I met his family. So shout out to you.
Shout out Bryce,
if your name
man.
was Bryce, if
Shout
your name wasn't Bryce, that's an L by me. But we met you. I'll talk to you, and you're a great.
Not
you're a
Bryce
great
Young,
dude.
correct? Just Bryce.
No, okay.
Okay.
He's taller.
I've
than
got to
Bryce
meet
Young.
up tomorrow. I've got to meet up with someone tomorrow. I can't wait.
No, it'll be awesome. So again, tomorrow
By the name of McAfee. That's why I'm meeting up with someone with McAfee. I don't know. I got a text message.
Yeah, I don't
saying,
know
this McAfee guy wants to meet you, and I said, "Who's that?" I don't know. Got a meeting tomorrow, 11 a.m.
Oh yeah,
Interesting.
that's
It's
weird.
like a little brunch. Some
I think I should be
mimosas.
honored to meet you. To be honest,
I don't know who it is. If anyone knows a McAfee, let me know. We'll be in Detroit tomorrow.
Well, fellas, I mean, it is 9:20. We're gonna be doing this thing, and I'm gonna get it all put up on the screen for you guys we'll break down. We have our most wanted top 5 list. Lucas and Mike's list is currently being made, but we have mine and Booner's.
Under
We'll preview
construction.
Gentry and Lucas's tomorrow, so you can catch all of ours tomorrow. We're gonna put up me and Booner's because it's currently done. And then you two can even say what your top 5 looks like. And then you can maybe pick apart ours or not like it. Because I have me and Booner's as of right now. So we'll put up Booner's first and we'll go through. And again, this is Detroit's Most Wanted. This is what we're titling it. And it's the top 5 preferred players. We tried to be semi-realistic. It's not players that'll just be available at 29. It's potential trade ups. It's players that are going to be first round players. You're not going to say
half, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you can't be like, I could say Dallas Turner, but you just don't think it's realistic. So these are our kind of realistic most wanted players. We'll start with Booner. Booner, tell people about your list here. How'd you come to this conclusion?
Yeah, so I went half and half. I wanted to get a couple trade ups because to me, my number one option here tomorrow for the Detroit Lions, and it's starting to come through a little bit that it's there's potentially like a very, very high percentage that Brad Holmes and the Detroit Lions move up. Like that is kind of the rumors that are going around. If they trade up, say they go up to 12, 13, to me, the number one guy, and I mentioned it with the doc, is I know we need an edge, which I think in the second, third round, you can get an edge. But to me, that other corner position with no Cam Sutton now is a guy like Quinyon Mitchell, who can be a cornerback 1 on your football team for the next 5, 6, 7, 8 years and be that absolute dog. And I think, Jeff, you agree with me a little. I know Klotzy's a Terrion guy, and Gentry, I think, might be a Terrion, or I don't know, Quinyon guy as well. But I just think Quinyon's the number one corner in this draft class. And when it comes down to it, and you look back 5 years, it's going to be like, oh, the Quinyon was an absolute dude. And he should have maybe gone a lot earlier than he did because he's playing at Toledo. No one got to see him all year. And now we get to talk about him. And when people starting to see him, and he's going to go top 15 coming from Toledo. Klotzy, when was the last Toledo guy to go in even the first round?
First round? Probably. I don't think Barry. They probably not wasn't even a first rounder if I'm thinking about it.
Yeah. So
Kareem Hunt was second round, I think, or maybe third. He's the last,
and he has a chance to go top 15. So I think that puts in perspective. If he was at a high major, he probably goes top 10. To me, number 2 here, I have lot 2 guys, and I know I've been a Jared Verse guy. And as we've had these conversations the last 7 days, and I start looking at the stats, I watched today him talk with Max Crosby about the process and what he went through in college.
Great interview, by the way.
The dog that he is. Yeah, and once you start, and this is where I think Brad comes from when he's learning some of these guys, is when you start to see who some of these guys actually are and what they're about, it starts to change your mind a little bit. Latu, he's every single season he's played has slowly increased in sacks and production, and he just keeps getting better and better. And then when you hear him talk about his mindset and what he's gone through in his career, it makes you want to run through a wall, and that he's going to do literally everything it takes to be great in the NFL. I think Latu can potentially. I know there's Dallas Turner. Latu, he could end up being the best edge rusher in this draft in his career at the end of the day, the way that he plays. So in the mentality that he has. So that was a switch today that I made to put Latu at number 2. Number 3 was, if you stay at 29, I'm very, very content with going Kool-Aid McKinstry. Again, it's that corner situation. If you just sit there at 29, I think that's just like a very trustworthy pick. Get yourself a corner, get a defensive player that's going to make plays. He's a Nick Saban guy. He's played with Brian Branch. He knows some people on this team. I like that he played with Jameson Williams on the same team. So I like the Kool-Aid pick. Number 4, fellas. Klotzy. Guess who I listened to today?
Who'd you listen to, Boone?
Steve Smith.
Mm-hmm.
He loves Brian Thomas. It was his 4th ranked wide receiver in the draft. Steve Smith, I trust him, trustworthy guy. But then when I turned on the film for Brian Thomas, 17 touchdowns, fellas, this year. That's not just 17 touchdowns as the number 1 wide receiver. Brian Thomas was the number 2 wide receiver on this football team. He was hidden. No one talked about him. He was just a quiet number 2. And that's kind of the persona he gives off, is he doesn't need to be your number 1, but he can be your number 1. And he has the skills and everything to be the number 1 wide receiver. You bring him in to be the number 2 behind Amon-Ra St. Brown. That is a deadly duo. And then you add Jameson Williams, who can be a number 2 as well. You might have to trade up to get him, but I think if they added him, that would be the most realistic wide receiver to trade up, in my opinion, to get. And then number 5, fellow, is Darius Robinson. I think we all know. I think that's just a safe edge pick at 29. You know what you're going to get from him. He's a hometown guy. He's going to come in and compete in Detroit, and he's a dog. He can play inside, outside. He can do everything. And these hometown guys, like the Hutch type situation, who's from around the area, they know when they put the helmet on what they're doing with Detroit. He's not going to come and mess around. He's going to come in here and produce. So I like that at 29. That's my last like kind of safe pick at 29 if they stay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for every one of these players, Boone. All of them.
Thank you, brother.
No offensive lineman.
So I wanted to put Jackson Powers-Johnson or Zach Frazier in. It's just, to me, defense is very important. And I guess maybe you could say I could have put a lineman in for number 4. I just love Brian Thomas. Like, every time I watch him and listen to people talk about him, I'm a big fan of him. And I think they met with him already at the combine. Jeff, guess who they really haven't met with? And it's kind of shocking. And maybe I'm wrong on this, but when I looked up their top 30 visits and as well as their combine visits, not a lot of offensive linemen. I think the only one that they truly met with was Penei's cousin. Unless I was looking at the wrong list. But when I was doing this top 5, I wanted to put offensive linemen in. And then I looked at the list of like who they've met with at the combine and in top 30, and the doc's in the chat. So maybe he might know the list a little better than me. I only saw Penei Sewell's cousin and then some day 2, day 3 offensive linemen on those lists. So it shocked me. Like, Jackson Powers-Johnson was not on the list. Zach Frazier, not on the list. Graham Barton, I did not see on the list. I thought that was interesting.
I think those top 30 visits or kind of confirmation to the human being, like, and that's what the Lions value. But I don't think, I wouldn't be shocked if they still drafted one, even if they didn't meet
combine visits at least though.
Yeah, I mean, I guess.
I don't think you'd spend at least a first round pick if you haven't met the dude in person. I think that's too much.
That's also fair.
Wager.
I mean, that's also fair.
Again, they all don't get reported too, so that's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, Mike? You see Brian Thomas on here. That's your guy.
I know Brian Thomas might be on my list too, and no, I like it. Obviously, this is kind of similar to my list position wise. I mean, you cover the two biggest positions, obviously, and you have number 1, you have Quinyon, the best corner in the draft, in my opinion, and then Latu and Darius Robinson, both good to elite edges, possibly in the NFL. So no, I'm all for this list. I like it.
Brian Thomas, baby, let's go, Gentry.
Yeah, it's funny because we all are, since it's only 5, there's obviously more, and there's more that we'd be okay with, but these are our like go-to most wanted. You know, if there's an option to get these players, go get them. And I'll put mine up, and you guys can kind of, pick apart mine. I'll give Lucas a hint. The wide receivers.
There's a shock.
The wide receivers. But here's mine. Okay, these are my top 5. So I have Latu at 1 for obvious reasons. And I just, there's like tiers to me, and the first 3 players, that's kind of the tier. Like, if I had a preference, you're trading up for those 3 players. So that's why they're 1, 2, and 3. I think Latu's the best player. Quinyon Mitchell would be my best corner. And then Jared Verse, you see a common theme here, 2 edges. I'm okay with that. And I think Jared Verse will be a really good player too. Now, Kool-Aid's 4, but obviously he's more of a 29 selection. Like, if we're talking at 29, he'd be 1. But I don't think Latu, Quinyon, and Jared will be there at 29. And then JPJ would be right behind him. I'm cool with JPJ. I like him a lot. The Zach Frazier thing, if you could put him 5. I mean, to me, they're kind of in that 5, 6 range. I wouldn't mind an offensive lineman, even a tackle. So I guess JPJ represents the offensive lineman category. He'd be right behind corner, but no wide receiver on this list, and as it should be. All right, that's how I feel about it. But what do you guys think? No. I got Jared Verse on here, but those first 3 guys are all trade up players.
Go ahead, Boone.
My question is, like, we had the conversation last night, Jeff, about the scenarios. I think it was Jesse Adams said 1, 2, 3 scenarios. I want to know why you have Latu at 1 instead of Quinyon, because I think all of us yesterday picked, if we trade up, to go corner first. That would be like our favorite option. So I just want to kind of see where you're at with that. Like, is there a reason why you would rather have Latu? Is it because of like his ceiling maybe, or where are you at with that? Because I feel like we've talked about, we feel like they trade up 4 corner if they do. That's like the number 1.
Yeah, and that's a good question. I think for me, Latu would be a player that can come in and help this team quicker And B, I think his ceiling is drastically higher. But like John said, drafting an edge, Quinion I think would come in and be a solid corner, but he would be. I don't know if he would have that Sauce or Devon Witherspoon effect. He could, or he's like immediately a dude and immediately CB1. I think Latu could walk in and immediately be next to Aiden and dominate. So that it's like the margins like that. That's why that question's hard for me to answer.
Yeah,
I would prefer Latu, but it's a tough one. I'll say that. I will say that. I do prefer. I mean, this is the thing. Terrion Arnold is not on this list. Not that I don't like him, but after those 3 players, I didn't want to do all trade up options. I had to kind of mix.
That's what it was with me. I didn't have Jared Verse or Terrion on it.
It's tough.
I'm gonna stay away from that a little bit.
But Klotz, I would rather have Jared Verse than Terrion Arnold. I guess
that's what I was going to ask you. That's where I draw the parallel. Where I don't agree with that one. I'd rather have. I think Terrion. I think, yes, there's obviously potential for him not to translate in the NFL, but I think if there's a guy in this draft to translate most efficiently to a cornerback 1, it's Terrion Arnold, just because that natural progression where he's been playing under Nick Saban and in the SEC, was the best DB in the SEC, was the best DB in the country last year. I think there's less of a learning curve for that situation compared to a Quinion Mitchell. So that's why I think I don't hate that you guys have Quinion over Terrion. I understand where you're coming from. But then I think it's a little crazy to then put Jared Verse over him if we think corners are so hard to find in the draft.
Yeah, no, that was my only question, was kind of similar to Booner's, having Latu over Quinion. But overall, like, I like the personnel of this list and, wouldn't be disappointed in any of them, but kind of similar to Booner and Lucas, actually. Not having Terrion up there and then Quinion over Latu. But overall, I mean, it's a great list.
I think the edge depth, there's a drop off with tiers, in my opinion. So I think the priority to get an edge is higher than I think a corner.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, if you have Quinion, Terrion, and I think edge, it's Verse and Latu, and then like your Darius Robinson and Kool-Aid and McKinstry's are kind of like that tier 2 that kind of started off. You know what I mean? That's why I just think. But I get it.
Like, I look at it like this. For corner, we go Quinion Mitchell, Terrion Arnold, and then you bring up Nate Wiggins. I know you don't like him, but those are 3 guys. And then you go TJ Tampa, Kamari Lassiter. Like, for edge, in my opinion, the only 2, maybe 3, maybe 4. I guess I'll squeeze Adisa Isaac on there. I'll give him that. I think Adisa Isaac. I think it's Latu, Verse, Adisa Isaac, and Darius Robinson, and then maybe you get to like Chop Robinson. Like, after that, it's like I'm not in love with, like, Joan Ellis. I'm not in love with. You like Muhammad Kamara? That's your guy, I understand that, but I'm not like in love with it. I think Renardo Green. There's some interesting corners. I guess I could live with. I still prefer Kool-Aid because I think he's a really good player. But that's why I have 2 edges, I guess, in the top 3. If you're trading up, it's a hot commodity, at least I believe. But we'll see. I guess.
I like you said, Adisa Isaac too. Like, if you're just playing the board correctly, as Brad usually does, and you stay at 29, take Kool-Aid McKinstry, trade back up with 61 and go get Adisa Isaac. There's a chance he gets, he might not fall all the way there. So just trade up. Just play the board correctly. Cause I don't know. I guess maybe I'm misunderstanding what you were saying there, but that's kind of in my head. That was where I took that.
Yeah. No, and again, I didn't mention Dallas Turner, so that's on me. I don't know.
I think the Dallas Turner thing is very weird. I don't know if you could trade up. Like, you would have to give up so much to trade up into the top 10, I feel like, to get a Dallas Turner. So that's why I did not put – I saw some people put Dallas Turner in their top 5. I left him off mine because of that. Same with, like, a Byron Murphy, who he's starting to get projected in the top 10.
Yeah.
I don't think you could trade up that much.
Yeah, personally. Dallas Turner, to me, is the best edge in the class. Like, and Latu's right behind him. So
I didn't do Dallas Turner, but I did all five of my guys you would most likely have to trade up to get, and that's how I wanted to go. So that's my most wanted.
Yeah, well, yeah, we want these guys.
We're trading up tomorrow. Yeah. Let's go, Gentry.
Yeah, but essentially this list is telling you if it's not trading up, give me Kool-Aid McKinstry. That's basically what it's saying. Mm-hmm. And if he's gone, give me JPJ. But yeah, we'll come out. We'll do all of our lists tomorrow. We'll recap them tomorrow. Gentry's and Lucas's will preview. So tune into the draft show. You get the rest of the fellas. You get the rest of the fellas list tomorrow live on the draft show. We'll be live round 7-ish. So tune in.
Let's say 7:15. People start tuning in. We got 230 people in here. Everyone should plan 7:15, not 8 o'clock tomorrow.
No, it'll be
early tomorrow.
Yes,
we'll keep reminding you guys too.
Yes. So it'll be tomorrow. It'll be a lot of fun. So if you're not going downtown and you're looking for some content, we're going to be the go-to place. I promise you that. Real quick to kind of pivot here, fellas, before we get to mailbag, I want to give ourselves an opportunity to kind of, before the draft starts, because then it's like everything goes. Then we're reacting to draft picks. Then we're talking about day 2, day 3. Everything just starts moving. This is our last day of previewing anything. What are your guys' final expectation / thoughts on what you're expecting tomorrow? Maybe your preferred players, like kind of your final. It's like you're in court. It's like your closing argument, I guess you'd say. Well, your pitch to Brad Holmes on how ideally tomorrow should go for you. Ideally, how you'd like it to go, not how it will go, how you'd prefer it to go. Booner, you could start, and then we'll just go around. I'll go last, but I want before we get the mailbag here.
When I look at the draft, my number one thing for the Detroit Lions, and I think all Lions fans can agree, I don't think at all just sitting there at 29 and 61 is going to be a thing the next 2 days. You're going to add more picks. Brad Holmes is going to do something tomorrow, whether you think you like it or not. And that's where, like, I remember last year when the Jahmyr Gibbs pick happened, when Jack Campbell happened. And then day 2, I remember getting ready for the day 2 show, getting ready to go on air. And throughout the day, I had a conversation with D-Mac about it. And we had the conversation, trust in Brad Holmes. Like, it's like people like trust in Brad Holmes tomorrow and on Friday. Let him just go out there and work. Things are going to seem weird and everything. I just want Brad Holmes. And what I want him to do is I want him to go get dudes. If you have to give up draft capital to get into the top 15 and get a guy that he's going to make an impact for a Super Bowl team next year, go do that. Go get a Latu if you think he can be on a Super Bowl defense. If you can get to a top 10 defense by trading up in Latu, I would rather you do that. Give up picks for next year. I don't care. Go out there and get the dudes that are going to impact this football team. And guess what? I think Brad Holmes does it. I think he makes moves tomorrow and trades up. I know Dan said, and I think this is all smoke screens when he said, be ready to trade back, because every GM on this planet right now in the NFL was listening to that Dan Campbell interview this morning, or they have gotten a clip of it. So they're putting smoke screens out. I think they end up trading into the top 15, and you see them go get a guy that's going to make an impact on a Super Bowl team this year. And I'm going to stand on that. And if they do that tomorrow, the whole city of Detroit, you're going to have 400,000 people downtown tomorrow. You're going to have people at bookies with us celebrating. You're going to have people all around. You guys remember all of the clips and the things happen when the Lions traded up for Jameson Williams. It's going to be like that, except you're going to go out there and get a Latu or a Jared Verse or a Quinyon Mitchell, who's going to have a chance to make your team a top 10 defense. So that's kind of my last thing there. And to that point too, if they stay at 29 and just take an offensive lineman or do something, let them do that as well. That's just like a safe pick that's going to help this team just keep growing. We're on our way up, boys. I'm excited.
Let's go, Boone.
Yeah, no, honestly, I would say I'm trusting him no matter what. But at this point in time, I think I'm expecting him to move into that upper half of the first round. And just because the drop off between defensive guys, when you guys have like guys like Quinyon Mitchell and like you mentioned, Jared Verse, compared to like the Darius Robinsons and the second round corners, I just think there's such a difference. And he's going to realize the value in those guys, even maybe a wide receiver like Brian Thomas. So I do kind of agree with Booner. He did throw some smoke screens out there today. But I feel like there's no way that they'll see that those top guys and some of them slipping, and they won't capitalize on that opportunity to move up and snag one of those top corners, top edges, or maybe even a wide receiver.
Brad, you're going to watch Minnesota sell their soul, whether it's for JJ or Drake May, whoever it may be. You're going to watch one FC North team sell their soul for a quarterback that, in my opinion, most likely won't turn out talent-wise, but because of the system, they'll have success. But I don't think that's worth trading 2 first-round picks for. You're going to watch Chicago try to attempt to go and get Caleb Williams and have their first actual functional franchise quarterback ever. And then you're going to see Brian Gutekunst at 25 take either a corner or a lineman, one of the two. But Brad, you have your guy As long as it's not Nate Wiggins and Chop Robinson, you go and get him. You go and get him. You get the city rocking. But at the end of the day, you put another layer, another foundation on this Detroit Lions dynasty to be, and you do what you do best, and you cook, and you take Xavier Legette at 29 overall.
You know what, Lucas? Very well said. You know what? Very well said, Mr. Lukas Klotz. Even though I couldn't disagree more. But it was no, I'm kidding.
I'm not gonna lie, I was not expecting that. I was like, okay, we're all agreeing. We're
no, hey,
that was
let him cook. He might have burnt it, but I'll continue to let him cook. But listen here, Klotzy, all right? And Brad Holmes, I'm a fan of you. All right, I think the world of you. We all do. Brad Holmes is an elite general manager. But here's and I already came out with my mock, and it's my ideal selections for those picks. No trades, of course. If we're talking about best case scenario, okay, we're all celebrating. We're all drinking Kool-Aid. Booner's chugging it. We're all having fun. Trade up. Get your guy. If you believe you have to trade up to get him. If you think staying put, you could still walk out with a quality player, then yeah, that's a route for sure. I don't know what Brad Holmes' draft board looks like. It's the Bible. We don't know. What goes on his draft board. But just in my opinion, Jared Verse, Latu, Quinyon Mitchell, hell, even Terrion Arnold, even if I think he's the second best corner, me and you, Luke, we're all in lockstep with corners. It's like how you feel about Quinyon is how I feel about Terrion. I don't hate him at all. I think he's a good corner. I just have a preference. But Kool-Aid McKinstry, if you stay put, that is the pick. You go get Kool-Aid McKinstry if you do not trade up. You add to this secondary. You add to a secondary who needs help, a lot of help at corner. And you get your guy, preferably Kool-Aid McKinstry. But you get your guy. That's all that matters, Brad Holmes. Do what you always do. Be great. And you continue to cook, whether that's trading back and getting more assets or trading up. I prefer trading up. I believe quality over quantity. That's something I do believe in, especially when you're a Super Bowl contender. You just want quality players. Not saying they can't get quality if they trade back, but Dan Campbell said it. The top 15 guys are dudes.
Game changers.
Game changers. Go get a game changer. And hopefully Brad can go do that. So again, if you trade up, go get those handful of guys I just listed. And if you stay put, might be a guy that plays over at Alabama formerly. That's going to tear the league up. It's going to be a hell of a
Braswell, baby.
Boys.
JC Latham.
Will Reichert.
Yeah. Will.
I want to make it very well known as well. I keep seeing this in the chat. Just like at the trade deadline, when you start hearing negative things about Brad Holmes tomorrow, if it does happen, in it 1 year, out the other. The Booner path, everything, this thing is a straight path to the Super Bowl. There's nothing that is stopping it. There's no potholes, nothing. What happens tomorrow, we get dudes that take us to the Super Bowl. We welcome those people on the Booner path tomorrow, boys. I cannot wait. I'm absolutely.
You know what, fellas? This is our we're doing a team meeting here, but obviously the chat's involved. Last 15 minutes, 16 minutes, we do one final full first round speed mock. Our final thoughts.
Chat's involved.
No trade. No. Well, see, that's the thing. We won't do trades.
No trades.
But there will be trades. Okay,
no trades.
We can even factor in maybe only a Lions trade. If you prefer, we can go that route. Only a Lions trade because we should allow
a JJ McCarthy trade too.
Okay.
No. Veto. I want to pick the trade for Drake May.
Well,
what if the Patriots take JJ?
Well, what if JJ? Hey, maybe he's in the 20s tomorrow. I don't know. I don't know.
Fuck my fault of the 30s, Jake Coker ass dude.
By the way, I'm gonna put out a NFL draft parlay tomorrow for the people. I'm gonna do it. A parlay for guys to go in the first round, a top 10, and all of that. So tune in at 7:15 tomorrow, right on the dot, because before the draft, I will have a parlay ready for the boys or for girls and the boys, whoever is involved.
Yeah, for all
love everyone. ELE. The Booner path accepts all.
What does ELE mean?
Everybody love everybody. Have you never seen Semi-Pro? I mean, it's a Flint movie. It's
don't expose them like that.
That is unbelievable. It's a basketball movie that you're supposed to be a savant in,
well,
based out of a place 30 minutes away from us.
I haven't seen it.
It's unbelievable. One of the greatest actors of all time, Will Ferrell.
Exposed him, brother.
No, I know what the movie is. I have not seen it. You can roast me in the comments for that's fine. Real quick, I do want to acknowledge Coach Walk became a member for 2 months. We appreciate you, Coach. You're the man.
There we go,
Hopefully
baby.
we
Let's
get
go,
to
Coach
downtown tomorrow. Elgato, thank you for the $2. As these two signings put pressure on other franchises. Absolutely right, Elgato. And then Mitch Hughes became a Crunch member as well.
Shout out Mitch Hughes. I went to college with Mitch Hughes. I went to college with Mitch. Shout out Mitch.
Oh, shout out Mitch.
Shout out Mitch.
Great golfer, too. Great golfer.
Dog.
Tiger Woods-esque.
Mm-hmm.
Dog.
Maybe
I've heard
not,
of him.
but shout out Mitch.
But we'll get. Do we agree
Sean.
that real quick before I make this selection? We agree that Jane Daniels will probably be the second pick.
Yeah.
I don't know, Booner. Is JJ gonna go?
No, Jaden Daniels. What order are we doing? We should just go the order here.
I thought we'd do it as a team, make it quicker,
Yeah.
but we could.
Okay,
it's
that's
just
fine.
easier
Yeah,
instead of
let's do it.
waiting and everyone does
This
their
is
whole
good.
intro.
A lot of arguments incoming.
Yep.
It's okay. Well, number
Drake
3.
May, number 3, I think.
I agree. Majority rules, and if we're 2 and 2, we'll go to chat. That's how this works.
Okay.
That's fair.
So 3, I think they're going to take a quarterback. I know how Lukas Klotz feels. It's really. I think this is going to come down to really Mike, and if not, we're going to have to go to the chat here. Where you think Drake May goes?
Drake May.
Okay, well, Lukas, even though
It
Lukas
sounds-
does not feel like it's the smart move, he would prefer the best wide receiver. Maybe
Arguably
in
the
the
best
last
player.
handful of years. I don't like that.
It's not a slight towards Caleb. Just the
All right,
greatness
quick
of
Drake
Marvin.
May. Come on. This is a speed.
All right.
You guys are having a little powwow over there about Marvin here.
yeah.
We know.
Well,
I think
This
here,
is
I'm going to go
Neighbors.
here. I think they go Malik Neighbors, actually. As crazy as it sounds. They just got rid of 2 of their top receivers. I think they go Malik Neighbors.
you don't think JJ he gets traded up? Booner?
No,
No trades.
I was told by Booner.
I said if we could do trades, JJ will be in the top 5 and we'll get traded up. This would be it. You guys send no trades. If you guys want to do a trade, I'm in. We can
Let's
just do
do
a
this
quick
one.
one here.
Do this
Just
one. Yeah.
you don't even have to
this
do
one.
anything. Just offer it and force the trade through. Don't even have to do
just force
anything.
it.
Yeah.
And that leaves JJ in the NFC
God.
North, going to the Minnesota
Keep
Vikings.
scrolling. There he is.
Yeah.
shut up.
And I do believe we can agree that Malik Neighbors will be a giant. So, and then I think Joe Wall, we agree. I mean, this is kind of lining up the top 10.
Yep.
Joel.
Sure.
Yep.
Yeah, they would agree there. Okay. And then Atlanta. I don't know if you guys. I'm Byron Murphy.
I'm voting Byron Murphy. I've seen it a lot the last 2 days since Adam showed it to us. Everyone is starting to, and I'm a betting guy in sports books. Sports books are telling me Byron Murphy there. I'm going Byron Murphy.
Your sports book can go, you know what itself, because I think Dallas Turner.
I say Byron Murphy.
The pick.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going.
I think it
Dallas
has to
Turner.
be. I think it has to be, but I don't think it will be. I don't know which way we're basing off this draft, but I think if we're, I think I would pick Dallas Turner, but I think they're going to end up picking Byron Murphy.
No,
I wouldn't be surprised either
I think
way.
it could be either or, but I'm going Dallas Turner here. They had like
Bunch of
40-year-old
Sims.
edge rushers, like me and Jeff were talking earlier, Lions-esque edge rushers with their signings towards the end of the year. So
That's a stray, but we'll.
Here's
Voting
where I'll go Byron
Brock
Murphy.
Bowers. I'll go Brock Bowers. That's my vote.
To the Chicago Bears.
I've seen it.
It's just like, fuck it, why not?
I think Brock Bowers goes number 9 to the Chicago Bears.
This is where I go Byron Murphy.
Holy shit!
They've got their wide receivers tight end.
That was balling with.
Yeah, they just
was,
signed
but-
Colton Kmet.
And they got
Dude,
Gerald
hey,
Everett.
Guess what the Bills did? Bills drafted Dalton Kincaid last year when they had
Yeah,
Dawson
but Knox was he. Yeah,
you have
he-
2
was
elite wide
not-
receivers already. You have already you already have a defensive line. You can
They
upgrade.
do, but it's not like a
Cole Kmet.
crazy one. It's really just Montez Sweat. They don't have like a force on the inside.
Just
I
throwing
think
it out
it's-
there.
I
Or-
think it's either an offensive lineman or Byron Murphy.
Or
So-
you guys pick. My vote is Brock
receiver.
Bowers. You guys can all remember a majority, and then we go to the chat if not. I just think Brock Bowers ends up being like he can play in the slot. He can move around. He's going to be a game changer, like a game changer. And
I
think
agree
they're going to
with
look
you.
at it. So
If
my
I'm
vote
not-
is that You guys all throw your votes out there, and then we can see what it is, and then we go to the chat if not.
If I'm
I'm
being
gonna go
real
for it.
here, if I'm the Bears, I'm going Fuaga.
Okay, so your vote's
Or-
Fuaga, Klotz.
Or you're
I said
going
Byron Murphy.
well, because they're what they drafted a tackle last year, the tackle out of Tennessee. Does he play right or left?
Darnell, right? He plays right.
Okay, so actually, I take that back. I mean, because I think Fuaga is he's a right tackle. So I guess at that point you're looking at either Fatanu, who's probably a guard, J.C. Latham, or Fashanu. I think they should take an offensive lineman. They that's like a big question mark.
What do you think, Gentry?
I'm still think they're taking Romo Dunze. They're just
Oh
gonna
my
draft
God.
the
So we
the
can't even
Keenan
have-
Allen
We're
replacement.
all around
boys,
here.
we got to really think here. This next, because at 20 you can go however. So I think we should. This is where we should start doing an order where it's all right. Jeff at 9, Booner 10, Lukas
Okay,
11.
good. That's fair. That's fair. So you
Because
want to
we're gonna
start?
start getting to like 23,
you
and
go.
it's gonna be like,
We'll just go the order down here. Jeff, you go.
Yeah. yeah.
All right. So
I've got a
I'll-
question about the Jets I want to bring up to you guys if I have the Jets pick too, because I do have
the
a
Jets
legit.
pick them.
I have a legit
I-
question about that.
I'm taking
Don't you
Caleb
dare.
Williams' high school teammate Fashanu.
Oh, I thought you were gonna take J.C. Latham. You
I'm
fool.
Got a
taking
question with the
Fashanu.
Jets
I'm
here.
taking
Do
Fashanu.
you guys think?
So-
Do the Jets? Do you guys think there's a chance they go tackle? Correct.
Yeah, they could go anything offensively.
So that was my thought. Is even with Rome on the board, they have Garrett Wilson and Mike Williams. The biggest thing last year in training camp, if you guys remember watching Hard Knocks, was that offensive line. And Aaron Rodgers was having like the biggest struggle of his career in Hard Knocks trying to keep up with that offensive line. And that was like a big problem. So I'm going to go with tackle here, Jeff. Can you scroll down a little?
Mm-hmm. You got Fuaga, Fatanu, Latham. I'm
going to go
JC.
JC. I'm going to go JC Latham.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right, JC Latham, and then Lucas, you're the Chargers trading
I
back.
think
I
this is
wanted to be
easy.
Jay.
You are running up the board naked, praying to the
This is easy.
football gods that Roma Dunze just fell that far.
All right,
So
Roma
wrong.
Dunze, and that puts Gentry for the Broncos.
Take Bowers, baby. I know you want to. You don't want to take Knicks.
I know. God damn it. Why? That's why I didn't want to pick for the Broncos, bro. I hate taking Bo Nix. All right, I'm gonna let the chat decide because I hate this team.
No,
I hate.
Gentry, what are you doing?
That you gotta
What are
pick.
you doing?
All right,
Put
just
your
pick
nuts
Bo
on the
Nix.
table.
Just pick Bo Nix.
Oh,
Is that what
All
you're
right.
doing?
That's what I think they're gonna do. I mean, we're not gonna trade and do another trade in this draft too. So I think they would have traded back and then drafted a quarterback. But it is what it is.
I
So
think
I'll
this is an
do-
easy pick, Jeff. I think this is like a legit easy pick. There's one need they need on this team, and I think it's like
no, I think they need more than just
They need a
one
couple
need.
of things.
I think
Yeah.
that, but there's something about the Raiders where they there's been rumors that they love a certain guy that's perfect for their team. That that I've heard rumors of them maybe trading into the top 10 for.
Oh,
I know. I thought the same thing, Klotzy. I've seen the rumors though. I'm just the rumor.
This
mill
is
guy
about
over
what
here.
I would do if I'm sitting here and I'm the Raiders. Give me Quinyon Mitchell.
yeah.
That's
You
not
don't
what's gonna
take
happen.
Penix at 13, man. You trade back and get him.
That's what they end up doing. I promise you. I've seen it. They'll take.
I
Penix
don't
if we
hate
draft
it, but I
13.
just
I
think
I
you
don't.
can
I'm
get
doing.
away
Hey,
with-
this is what we do. all
I'm
right?
gonna
This is
go.
what
I'm gonna go for the Saints. They're gonna upgrade Juwan Johnson, add some weapons. Give me Brock Bowers.
There you go.
Okay.
That's
Like
what
the
that's
moon.
another weapon. Alvin Kamara. They have some
Screw you,
dudes on
though.
that team now.
It was
I
one
know,
pick
I was
away
never-
from happening.
I was never letting that happen. I could read you from a
Mhm.
mile away, brother.
All right, Colts. Ooh, Terrion still sitting there. Easy, Terrion for sure.
All right. There you go. Terry
The Arnold of Terry.
Gentry or the Seahawks.
Ooh, give me Latu.
There you go. And then I'm the Jags. Jags need a corner. I think they're not gonna. I think they're gonna take a corner and then give me Nate Wiggins. Yep, give me Nate Wiggins.
This has Byron Murphy came off the board yet?
No.
Oh
This
my
is
God.
crazy. There's no way he falls to 18, but I'll take Byron Murphy.
All right, Klotz.
All right, Fuaga. He's fallen too far. He's got to go.
Man, we're I think we're bad at this, guys. We have the draft is tomorrow. It's bad. This is brutal for us.
I don't hate it. because we're flying through these. Like, we're pretty decisive. Like, we're like, this is what we want. This is what we want. Who knows if any of this will be true, which, we don't know. But, what do you think, Mike? You're the Steelers?
Oh, is it me?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, no, I didn't know it was me. I thought it was Jeff. That's my bad. Who's the best tackle? I'll take Fatanu.
There you go, Troy Fatanu. That puts me with the Dolphins. Yeah, give me Graham Barton.
Love it. I love Graham Barton, guys. I don't know what it is, dude. If he falls,
Yeah, he's a
somehow
dog
falls,
too.
would love Graham Barton.
Go ahead, Boone.
Oh, this is me. Can you scroll a little bit? Just wanna see a
Oh,
little bit.
wait. Oh, this is a problem. Jared Verse is still here. Oh, we fucked up.
This is a problem. Give me a Jared Verse, please.
Oh, we fucked up here. No, this is an L. This whole thing.
That's why I said I felt a little weird. Byron Murphy fell way too far.
And you just
Jared
took the Eagles just took
Hey,
an egg?
somebody's gonna fall. How did
Just go.
man, Chargers are here?
Just go.
Okay.
All right, this draft I just lost brain cells. We got to continue. We got to keep going.
Sorry, we
All right.
moved.
Get a little scroll.
Oh, this is bad.
Give him DeJean. Give him Coop. Crackerback.
What a draft for the Chargers if they trade back and end
Oh,
up
this is
with
bad.
Roma Dunze and Cooper DeJean. That's an A draft to me.
Jared
So
Verse.
this is me?
Yeah, it's you.
Scroll down. I'll take JPJ.
Where is he? He's up here, ain't he?
He's up.
Oh, there he is. And then I'm the Packers. Yeah, I mean, to me, yeah, give me Mikey.
Wow.
Good pick. That's a great pick, Jeff.
Can you give me just a slow scroll? I just want to see a couple guys here. I'm interested in this one for them. I don't think they need a tackle, but there's some on the board there.
No, they got Tristan Wirfs.
Yeah, that's why I don't think I'm gonna go. No, dude, this is tough for them. They're in a tough spot. Give me Zach Frazier. Don't think he goes this high, but
Kool-Aid McKinstry.
Son of a
But I think that's a pick that nobody's talking about. But Jonathan Gannon, defensive coach, they're going Marv. They have no corners left. They have none.
All right, continue.
They need corner help more than the Lions do, Jeff.
I know. Mike,
Wait.
what do you think? What do you think, Mike?
Oh, Brian Thomas.
Son of a.
Jeff's just getting his heart ripped out.
Should
No,
we put? Oh, yeah, Jeff, actually, you
just
make
got a
this pick.
combo.
Fuck.
Jeff. Think about
Whatever you
this.
do,
Jeff.
Jeff, don't
Give me-
take a
Thank
wide
you.
receiver.
BPA.
Yeah, I mean, he took my guy.
B. Brad
so-
Holmes. B. Brad Holmes.
All right, take the best player. All right,
I'm
Boone.
up.
Yep, you're up, Boone.
It's AD Mitchell.
Oh, this is interesting. This is interesting. This is interesting, boys. Give me a Donnie Mitchell.
Klotzy.
Sam Fran. Wherever Tyler Guyton is, take him.
Great.
Yep.
That's a good pick too. We're getting
Marius
through this.
Rams, interesting one.
Gentry,
Chiefs?
you're the gatekeeper of it all. Put him first round, Gentry. Put him first round, Gentry.
All right.
That walk to the
Lucas-
statue meant something to you, didn't it?
It's fair. That's fair.
It's unbelievable.
With the 32nd pick, the Kansas City Chiefs select Xavier Legette.
X-Man. He's not falling out the first. Me and Booner have a lunch bet on it. Got to manifest good things. Got to stay positive.
But I win this bet. If that
Won the
happened the way it
war.
did, I win the bet.
Yeah, I know. I know. I love how all of
Okay.
these lines were originally bets of these guys being first round picks, and then it's like inside the first round.
I
It's like he's
I
not
think
a good first round pick, but the line's at 28.5.
I think the big fumble.
So it's the way we roll around here.
Yeah, the big fumble was.
We
Jared
put
Verse.
JC Latham 10, and I let that shit slide.
That was me.
That's
I'll stand out, I don't care.
disgusting. JC Latham over Fatanu. Oh my goodness.
That's
I
that's
you guys,
That's a person. You're acting like
JJ
it's a no. You're acting like
ways.
it's a dumb pick. That's just it's a personal thing. Let's not act like it's like a crazy
Yeah,
thing. It could happen.
Yeah.
You're acting like
personally-
there's no
personal.
chance he goes in the top 20. Don't make me look stupid out here.
This is top 10. This is top
They need
10.
a tackle. They need a tackle. It's if they love the guy, it could happen. Don't
Yeah.
make me look stupid out here.
Don't
do that.
It's
No,
not you
don't do
looking
that.
stupid, Booner,
It
but that
is.
is that is
you're acting.
value-wise.
The way you're
I didn't know
acting.
who made that pick. I thought, if anything, I
I
thought
know
Jeff
you
was
didn't,
sitting
but
at
whoever
10.
it was, I would hope that they would stand up for themselves like I am when you go at someone's head like that.
Hey, he's
JC Latham at
he's
I
10.
watched a
questioning
lot
you?
of I watched a lot of film and videos today on the tackles in this class because I was very interested, and there are a lot
I
of
like
people out
JC
there.
Latham.
There
I
are a
do.
ton of people out there that are pretty big that love JC Latham and talk very highly of him. That was why I went JC Latham.
Yeah.
When you look
That
at
was the only
JC
reason I did
Latham
it.
compared to like Fatanu, that's
one thing
like
that
the
we need to talk
Terrion
about
and
here-
Quignon's
The
to
one
the
thing we need to talk
Kool-Aid.
about here is how Bo Nix went in the first round, and there's no Michael Penix off the board. That's what we need
Well,
to have.
I
wouldn't
tried
have
to
done
just
that
say
either,
something,
but-
but you guys are screaming at each other. But originally, I would plan that the Broncos trade back and do this. But like I said, I don't. We're not going to do a million trades here. But just keep.
Honestly, I'm not even mad about the JC Latham. I'm mad at all of us for somehow Jared Verse falling. And not only that, but the
22.
Eagles, Boone, they have like 40 edges, Boone. You
Dude,
know
they
that.
love edges. They're addicted to it. They don't care how many they have. They'll
They're
just
like
keep
itching
drafting
for
them.
more edges.
They will just draft them until the day they are no longer a franchise.
All right, I don't
Look
like
at
that
Klotz
comment.
over here.
I don't like that
what is
comment.
the
I don't like
what
that.
is what's the word I'm looking for right now? And by the way, people, like John Lewis Booner needs to be able to take an L. The boys know I could take an L. This is me. I love to have little segments here. Let me be me. How about that?
Hey, Steve Lehman.
What is that? What's the word when like politicians just push out their own
propaganda.
That was Klotzy propaganda, putting that 6'6" sloth out there. Don't ever do that propaganda again.
I've heard multiple people, just how you've talked very highly of him. I've heard multiple people talk about his footwork when defensive ends are getting faster and faster. How big he is. He has bad footwork, and his hand placement is not ideal, especially when guys with quick first steps. And if you're taking him top 10 compared to guys like Fatanu's likes, that's
so
just
you
why
like Fatanu. For you, this is where I'm going to go with this, Klotzy. You keep going at us. Really, like if I make that pick, you will scream and go at us really hard about these tackles. But what I'm starting to feel about these tackles, and Gentry and I actually had this conversation before the show a couple of days ago, is this tackle class, anyone can go at any time ahead of each other. It is not like the way you're acting. It's like the craziest thing in the world. Like I took a 4th round draft pick and the 10th overall pick. That can happen tomorrow. I'm just going to throw that out there. Any tackle in this first round could go before any tackle. You were making it sound like I don't know football at all and I haven't watched anything. And I don't.
No. He was saying how he doesn't like JC Latham, which is fine. I just disagree.
Fair.
But I don't think he was doing it to like question your integrity or anything. He just doesn't like JC Latham.
I didn't even know whose pick it was.
Yeah,
I know you didn't.
It had
But
nothing to do with your integrity or anything.
It had nothing to do with. It had nothing to do with Klotzy. Had nothing to do with Booner. I'm just saying in general. You were whoever's head it was. You were going at. It happened to be my head, and I happened to say.
Well, he doesn't like the pick. Regardless, you know what I mean? I think so. Our job is to tell Lucas why he's wrong. Like, and I tell Lucas this: JC Latham, in terms of, I think, ceiling, I think you're criminally underrating what he can turn into. Because that's my opinion on watching JC Latham. And I don't think he's the best tackle in the class or anything like that. But I do think, to kind of back up, I guess Boone, but just back up anybody that likes JC Latham, he's gonna go, I think, like top 15-ish, around that number. I don't think I don't think he'll fall to the 20s personally, but we'll see. I don't think so. But that's your guy. You've been
mailbag.
Me and you have argued about that. No, we're getting out. We're this is it. We're ending the show.
We're out.
Yeah, we're
you guys on the side. So let's do some mailbag for the people. But,
well, I got some stuff I got to dive into. We got to get the show tomorrow extra just ironed out. So I need some more time. I'm going to be up late tonight. I think we all will be doing stuff. Right. But we appreciate you guys. Tomorrow, don't forget, tune in. I do want to give Steve some love here. I tried to put up his comment. Steve, thank you for the $2. Says Fisk in the second round, boys. I'm going to die on this hill. Hey, well, Steve Lehman, we appreciate you. You've been talking about Fisk for a while too, Steve Lehman. So you're consistent there. But we'll get out of here. We'll see you tomorrow. Don't forget, 7:15. We'll be live. tune into the draft show. If you're downtown, come say what up to the fellas. We'll be at Bookies. You get your VIP tickets still. And if you don't want to get the VIP perks, you can just come on in, buy the cover. You won't get the benefits, but you can still hang out with the fellas. So Bookies Bar and Grill, be there. We'll catch you guys tomorrow. It's going to be a long one. Till then, deuces.